It's your boy BlastphamousHD, and today we are here to watch some cinema summary. Let's be naughty.
Your neighbors are turning into psychotic monsters ready to kill anyone they see. Inside and outside, they hunt during the day and the night. What do you do when you're stuck in your apartment with no food and where anyone can monsterize into a killing machine? I'm going to break down the mistakes made, what you should do, and how to beat every single one of these monsters in Sweet Home.
What? I'm so
This
glad
gamer
I watched
Hyun-soo
this.
is down on his luck and trying to live cheaply. But what he's not thinking about is security. This building is seriously broken down. There's cracked paint covering every inch, the main sign has an arm-sized hole through it, and his head nearly gets sliced off from a rusty old weed whacker. These might look like superficial flaws, but they reflect much deeper problems, because this place simply isn't safe. It won't keep things out, and it can't protect you well from within.
It is not
and if
safe.
this is our only security guard, who happens to be doubling as a superintendent, this building is vulnerable in all the wrong places. In his apartment, he gets offered a drink by the security guard, who starts looking through the peephole. He not only has a nosebleed, but this guy's acting weird as f***. Regardless, I would install extra bolt locks on my door, because he has the keys to every apartment in this place, and I don't trust him at all. A week has passed and Hyun-soo here has been playing video games non-stop. He goes to pick up his shipment of instant noodles and sees that it's been ripped open with the trail of packets leading to his neighbor's apartment, a model living next door. He sees a cat's severed head roll into view before a hand grabs it. Backing away, he steps on a pack of noodles, the crunch alerting the monster. Okay, in moments like this, you will choose either fight or flight as the brain's amygdala takes over and your nervous system switches into full-on sympathetic response mode. For Hyun-soo here, it's flight, and I would do the same. You see something like this, lock your door and call the cops, which he actually does, but the signal is dead. Looks like we have to figure out how to deal with this on our own. Now, there's no clear indication if he's dealing with some bloodthirsty psycho or something supernatural. In situations like this, it's hard to trust your own senses, but he heard the voice saying hungry, so I might offer food to leave me alone. Unfortunately, ramen doesn't seem to be appreciated, so unless we find another cat, we don't have a viable way to distract him.
Have another cat. You gotta
Another
find
twist
another
gets
cat.
thrown into the mix as the doorbell rings.
Still
It's his
way.
neighbor, the model, and she's begging for help. And look, I gotta be real with you here for a second. It was at that moment my dumbass was mad at Hyun-soo for not letting this pretty girl in for safety while the monster is right next door.
Get
But
them
be smarter than
booty
me here,
cheeks.
guys. If a pretty woman knocks on your door and wants your help, something's wrong. It never happens.
Not. She's horny usually. You gotta open that up.
Trust me. Asking to see her arms is smart, because if they look like this, maybe don't open the door.
Yeah.
She gets mad and goes berserk, and we get the confirmation. She's the monster we saw earlier. But there's something else here we could easily miss that makes her an even bigger threat. This monster takes things personally. She can even manipulate and trick you, trying to act normal or trying to pretend there's an emergency. Once you've realized this, I'm not trusting a living soul in this building. We need to start thinking about how to get help. The phone signals are blocked, so at the very least, I would put a banner out my window using bed sheets and write a message that there's an emergency. But it's not just about us, because if this thing gets to other people, it might be more than just cats it wants to eat. And we need to warn everyone we can for the safety of the entire building. Hyun-soo walks out into the hall where he sees this gangster coming down the stairs and suddenly collapses. This seems like it's from his instant noodle only diet, but it's actually a sign of something much worse. Upstairs, the guitarist girl sees the same woman at her door looking a little worse for wear as it screams for her to open up. Okay, this monster has moved upstairs and we can see this thing won't stop. It wants food now and it's gone strong enough to punch clean through a metal door. We can't stay in the apartment forever and it can break in with enough time. The first thing to do is collect whatever you have in the apartment that could be used as a weapon or fashioned into one. Then we have to think about escape. They're lucky to have a camera on their front door, so they can see the monster is nearby. I would throw something down the hallway as a loud distraction and run downstairs to call the police. In the lobby, the other tenants discover that the shutters have been lowered, the security guard is missing, and their phones have no service. Also, all exits and entrances have been chain locked, meaning someone has trapped them here on purpose. And there are a lot of people down here trying to leave. Now, padlocks can actually be snapped open using 2 wrenches and some leverage. We might find some in the security room since the guard was also the superintendent. But if not, having more people gives us a better chance to escape, get help, or neutralize this monster. I would find out everyone's job and skill sets to see whether we should go after the thing ourselves. If everyone is a useless office worker, at least we could barricade the security guard's room and hide in there, with access to the cameras to watch the monster's movements. This med student breaks the chain to the management office, where inside one of the tenants, who is a firefighter, tries calling for help, but all the lines are busy with disaster reports, and the call cuts out. Okay, these guys don't know there's a monster in the building yet, so I might first think this was a natural disaster like a typhoon or tsunami. Shouldn't be trying to leave until we learn more. And if there's a citywide threat, this building is the most valuable thing we have. Also, this woman is a firefighter, so she has a better understanding than most about emergency evacuation and emergency protocol. I would make sure she was a part of all planning and decision making from here on out. The shopkeeper starts pressing buttons, and the front door shutter begins opening. But the tenants in the lobby see a very tall creature standing just outside, and this dog is not happy about it. I can't blame him too much for trying to get out. But once we see this very not human thing standing there, it confirms our suspicions that there's a citywide emergency. We need to turn this building into a safe zone. The student sprays the monster away with a fire extinguisher until he gets it past the shutters, but they close way too slowly and he runs out of gas. This guy was smart to use the fire extinguisher because it's projectile. There isn't much of this building that doesn't require close combat of some kind, and that would be a losing strategy with this kind of monster. One thing has become immediately clear. With this many monsters, help will not be coming, and we're on our own. We've closed the shutters, but it might not be enough here. His tongue can extend really far, and if he was really hungry, he could approach closer to reach inside easily. We need to plan for the worst, so I'd be trying to narrow the holes in the front gate by unwinding metal clothes hooks and wrapping them diagonally across the holes in the gate. It's all metal, and if it's wrapped tightly enough, it could provide a little more security. Meanwhile, upstairs, the guitarist girl has been taking care of Hyun-soo since he passed out, and he's not in good shape. She leaves to check out a noise and never notices social media is blowing up with the top 3 trending topics being monster, state of alert, and nosebleed. She goes down the stairwell where the drunk is muttering to himself, and when she passes by, she sees his nose bleeding like crazy. There's something really wrong with this guy. Alright, this girl has already seen a monster and it nearly bashed her door in. So if I'm seeing someone acting like this, I'm not wasting a second. The first instinct is to swing for the head, but this is not the right thing to do. She's 3 to 4 steps lower than him, which is a very difficult angle to strike. And contact with the head could be easily blocked, if it even reaches at all. In this situation, we should swing for the knees. He won't be able to block, we'll get a fast and direct swing, and it will knock him down, giving us another chance to strike. Another tenant enters the stairwell, sees the drunk guy turn into a monster, and chops the guy's head clean in half with a samurai sword. Okay, this is an important takeaway. These things have physical bodies, and they can be killed like any living thing. Now, it's easy to be sympathetic, but if we want to survive, we need a killer instinct. Like this guy here, who takes one of them out like he's playing Yakuza 6. But brute strength won't always do the job, so we need weapons. Kitchen knives are a good place to start, but close combat is not going to give you the best advantage. And nearly everyone in this building has no weapons training, so we'll need something easier to wield without experience. The roof would be good to scout for scrap metal, pipes, poles, or wooden planks that could be used. Baseball is a popular sport in Korea, so there could be bats in other apartments. But clearly, it would be better to kill them when they're still more human than monster, because they get back up more dangerous than before. Downstairs, the tenants are barricading the entrance when everyone's phones receive a notification about an epidemic. Anyone exhibiting nosebleeds, blackouts, and aggressive behavior should be quarantined. They're all nervous. This group didn't understand until now that this was a sickness, and they can catch it, and they argue about where they should go. The basement parking lot is shuttered, and the apartments aren't secure. I would want to stay downstairs where we have more operational control and send teams to scout certain floors for food, resources, and weapons using the ground floor as a base. The next day, Hyun-soo the gamer wakes up and sees the city is in ruins, when all of a sudden, he starts bleeding from the nose like that woman, and he'll turn into a monster just like she did. Looking for answers, he researches the illness on a blog called Kurukuru, and the med student has found the website too. They learn that the writer himself was infected, and he described it as a curse, with an unknown cause and no cure. But if they want to live, there's something they should know. Both tenants are about to discover what that is, but the internet cuts out. God, I hate it when that happens. With everything that's going on that's putting your life at risk, it's easy to overlook some important resources, power, and the internet. An unmanaged power station would provide 4 to 6 hours of electricity before blackouts occur. South Korea has nuclear power plants, which would last longer as it is more automated, but it's only supplied to certain areas and will eventually give out as well. And for him, this means no video surveillance of the front door. The internet would be gone even faster as the system would be overloaded with the activity of panicking citizens. We need to use these tools to gain as much information as possible before they're gone. If this is happening everywhere in the city, there might be information about what to do, how to beat them, what their vulnerabilities are, and if the government is going to help. It's been 8 hours since Hyun-soo here collapsed, and he's feeling hungry after all that research. He opens the door to grab the box of instant noodles, but the drunk from the stairwell has come back to life as a monster. Okay, obviously, we shouldn't be opening our doors on a whim, but once it's inside, we either need to fight it or lock him in the apartment. It might seem smarter to lock him in because it guarantees your safety in the moment and keeps him from roaming the halls, but it's not the right decision, because this may be the best chance we get at killing this thing. We can't just use a pole and bash it though. This monster has a special ability. He can't see, but he can't hear like you wouldn't believe. I would take the sharpest object within reach and stab him in the ear, so he can't see or hear now, making him easier to kill in a fight. That way we can keep the apartment and the building might have one less monster. Hyun-soo goes with option 3 and stays quiet, and the monster leaves. Lucky. Very lucky. Later he looks at the window and sees a father about to rappel down the side of the building. The man gets attacked by an eyeball monster and falls to his death as his kids cry out for help. The gamer throws his computer monitor at the eyeball and it comes up to attack him. These monsters are not limited to the human form, and obviously we got to go for its weakness, which is the eye, but it's not going to be enough. It can stretch its neck and it's strong, but this means we might be able to trap it. I would try to make it follow me through the hallway to stretch its neck further into the building and down the stairs. If I can get it stuck, it will be easier to trap and injure. This guy shoots at it with an air cannon that he fashioned out of a crutch, which is awesome. But it's clearly exposed that we can't always guarantee to kill these things, even if we sever their heads. So fighting them won't always be a solution, unless we have a lot more power to disintegrate them completely. And from this point forward, fire might be the best way to go. The veteran has another piece of valuable information. Phone calls make noise, then cut out when a monster is nearby. By staying on call, disturbances can help give you an early warning. We can use this to clear the building. You could go floor by floor and determine which ones have monsters, and either seal them off or kill them. Stay on call, keep your batteries charged, and don't go anywhere without it. Hyun-soo here meets him in person, and the veteran upgrades his weapon. It turns out the man is an amazing mechanic and tells him to go save the kids. This guy should be fashioning weapons for every man, woman, and child. We need to think like we're soldiers at war against these monsters, and he's our blacksmith. And since he can solder metal, I would take apart a row of doors and solder them together to permanently seal off a stairwell to trap any monsters or higher floors. Hyun-soo, the gamer, sneaks through the building and nearly avoids the blind monster. He reaches the kids to rescue them, but suddenly he starts showing symptoms, and he tells the kids to run away, but it's too late. He's a monster now. Or is he? Hyun-soo seems to snap out of his hallucination just in time to get knocked down by a giant creature, but in a super anime moment, Hyun-soo holds the monster back and yells at the kids to run before he gets beaten into a wall. Something is definitely going on with Hyun-soo. Somehow they've managed to survive long enough for a tenant with a sword to come and slice this protein beast. He and the guitarist drag Hyun-soo to safety, and they see his eyes go from black to normal. So he has a monster. That's bad. But for now he can't control it, and even if it's risky, it kinda gives us a chance at fighting these things, because he might have extra strength like they do, or a special ability we can take advantage of. The children continue to make their way upstairs, but the blind monster suddenly appears and blocks their way. They try to stay quiet, but the beefcake is back and reaches out for them. Their screams of terror alert the blind monster, who attacks the other one, and the two kids run out of the way. About time something goes our way in this building of terror. This is a clear indication we can exploit each monster's tendencies in our favor. The blind monster will attack Noise, and the beefcake will fight back, meaning Noise can be used as a lure to get the blind monster killed. The swordsman comes up with a plan and leads it through the complex. He reaches the end of a corridor and jumps out of the way, baiting the beefcake to jump out the window. Okay, these things die hard, but they can definitely be injured. Every monster will have its own unique weaknesses, and we need to start looking for them to survive in this place. So the main strategy is to make them immobile. No arms or legs will make for a reasonably harmless monster. And for Beefcakes here, who's got too much muscle to fight conventionally, slashing his Achilles tendon will make him unable to walk. It's simple biomechanics of anthropomorphic anatomy. We find out that the building lost power, and that the firefighter girl volunteered to go down to the electrical room to try to turn it back on. But she got set up by the med student who knew there was a monster down there. This guy is cold and tactical, and he's not wrong, but this firefighter is extremely valuable to the group. I would have been upfront with her because she's built to fend for herself. She's even saved everyone's lives in the building, and now he's totally throwing her under the bus. The med student makes an announcement for all survivors to come downstairs where it's safe, but then the radio goes offline. Gathering people is good, but we have to have smart allocation of resources and skills. There is actually more upside to having two bases, one upstairs and one downstairs. The lobby base camp can ration food and relay it to the apartment base, while the strongest and bravest stay to clear the monsters, save more people from their apartments, and scavenge for food and supplies. Back in the lobby, this woman is trying to break out of the building to find her daughter, but then they see a girl running towards them. She stumbles and limps her way to her mother as the med student tries to figure out what to do. Okay, this sounds heartless, but we don't know if this girl is infected or not, and it's adding another risk to the building. We have to ask ourselves what is more likely, that she survived all night outside with all these monsters around, or that she's infected. It wouldn't be a popular decision to lock her out, so I would let her in, but immediately lock her up in an apartment to monitor for nosebleeds and any signs of turning so we can kill her quickly if necessary. The soldier runs out to save her, but they both get run through and killed by the long-tongued monster. God, this thing is brutal. The student starts putting the barricade back up and barely avoids the monster's tongue piercing through as the shutter begins to close. After defeating the beefcake, the group spent the night at the veteran's apartment. By the next day, the guitarist and the swordsman are prepared to leave for the first floor, with the infected Hyun-soo deciding to join them. The soldier gives the swordsman a shield to take with him, and he's made it out of a door. This is incredible work, but right now I'm starting to think about if there's a better way to fight these monsters than with swords and shields. This guy should be making traps for us, because even if the monsters are strong and have special abilities, they aren't exactly smart. Things like bear traps, tiger traps, and snares would all be easy for this guy to make, and could go a long way in keeping us safe and dealing with the monsters more intelligently. Down in the basement, a spider-like monster goes to attack the cocoon and finds it empty. The firefighter has escaped through the ventilation shaft. This was really her only option, because the room with the cocoon was locked. Don't try to fight this thing without help, because it has more range and can move better than you, plus every leg has a huge stinger that can pierce through metal. But if it's taken the form of a spider, it might have the vision of a spider, which is surprisingly terrible. They rely on touch and vibration more than sight despite having 8 eyes. I might try using this to my advantage. I would take something from this room with me first, like the wire, and instead of running through the ventilation making vibrations, I'd look for a T-junction in the vents, use the wire to cause vibrations away from me, and stay still and quiet on the opposite side. She breaks a vent fan to lower herself into another room, but the spider catches her. Thinking quickly, she breaks a window and grabs a broken shard, sawing through the webbing to escape. The tenants find out that martial law has been declared and the military is in control. They're told the infection doesn't spread through the air or blood, but it's related to human desire, and anyone exhibiting symptoms of nosebleeds, fainting, or hallucinations should be locked up. These creatures are durable and heal very fast, but they do have 2 weaknesses. They can be damaged and killed during a period of time called the golden hour, and secondly, they can be burned to death. But dealing with this means we're killing them while they're still in human form, and that can get emotionally very ugly. I would designate a person in each base camp to be officially in charge of these executions, so that there isn't a situation where people who aren't mentally prepared for something extreme like this allow another person to turn into a monster. And it needs to be brought to the group for a vote, because if everyone isn't on board, everyone's lives are at risk. Meanwhile, the gamer and his crew find a dead body, and it's warm. This is really bad news for them, because it means he's been killed very recently and that a monster could be near. They don't see one, but on their way down, something knocks the guy down the stairwell and he takes a deadly fall, splatting onto the floor. He wakes up in another room where the med student tells him he's been asleep for 8 hours, and it's obvious that this kid has been infected. Okay, this guy can somehow survive deadly falls and heal quickly. If he's on our side, there's no way I'm not going to try to use this as an advantage against the monsters. We've established with Beefcakes here that some of these monsters are too dangerous to fight, but he clearly doesn't have the same risks as us. I would use him to lure monsters into traps, because the worst case scenario is he ends up back in the medbay for 8 hours. The shopkeeper throws a fit and screams that they need to kill him, but then his nose starts bleeding. Yeah, what was it you were saying, old man? Downstairs, the gamer is told by the med student they need him to do dangerous jobs for the tenants. His first task is to bring the soldier down here to help reinforce the barricade, but he's told to leave the kids if something goes wrong. I hate to say it, but he's right. Kids are our future, but right now we won't even have one unless we defeat these monsters. Firefighter isn't happy that he's using the gamer, but tells her they need the soldier and the gamer can heal fast. As long as he's strong enough to resist the infection, he can be their ultimate weapon. I have no problem with this whatsoever. We need to use people as resources because everyone has unique skills. He's a risk to have around groups of people, so he's best put to use to scavenge, run errands, and do things the others can't do. The med student tells the woman about the Crew blog and what he read on it. She remembers her fiance had a blog called Crew before he died, and he didn't want her to know about it. She knows it must be the same one, but why would her husband know anything about this infection? Hyun-soo and the gangster are walking up the stairwell where the man is suddenly grabbed by a giant hand. Hyun-soo here chases after him and gets knocked down by a super fast monster with giant legs. It sprints towards the kid, but someone shoots it with a crossbow bolt and it runs away. This old man and his nurse appear and rescue the 2 survivors. They're lucky to get some help, because this monster might be the toughest one yet. If it's so fast you can't even react to it, how do you kill it? That night, the veteran reinforces the barricades, and they're gonna need it badly, because the tongue monster gets grabbed by a massive hand as something lets out a roar. The next day, the guitar starts bleeding from her nose, and the tenants are horrified to find out she's infected. They sound the alarm, and the swordsman leads her into a net trap they've set up. The firefighter realizes this infection can be caught by anyone, and remembers her husband's Kuru blog. She must know what happened, and decides to head out on this motorcycle to his old workplace. It's risky, but she could find answers that tell us what we need to know about the infection. I wouldn't want her to leave though, because she's too valuable to the planning, safety, and defense of the group. It might be better to send the gangster, who is strong enough to defend himself in the wild, and he would help if there was something in it for him. Things are getting more dangerous for the group. Others are getting infected, and monsters are still in the building. Now, structure is important in survival settings. We have to be on guard 24/7, and it requires organization, cooperation, and discipline. They create 4 main rules for everyone to follow. Rule 1. Move together in groups of 2 or more, and report anything unusual immediately. This is so vital, and it's also very common sense. Being alone is almost never a good option in survival scenarios. You're always safer with company to either defend or get help. Rule 2. Eat once a day and only the amount prescribed. Resources need to be rationed, and not everyone is going to go along with this. It's going to be resistant, and it needs to be enforced, but as fairly and as democratically as possible. Things should be voted on, and that's a great way to have everyone buy into cooperating with the group. Rule 3. Everyone will have their temperature checked every night at 8 p.m. If someone gets sick, they'll want to keep it a secret, so we can't trust anyone. A hard rule to check for infection won't let anyone slip through the cracks, and you can catch a potential threat more quickly, keeping everyone more safe. Rule 4. Quarantine the infected. Obviously, they shouldn't be near the healthy, because they could turn. This kid is an exception, but even still, how do we know he's not going to get dangerous and violent at some point? We don't. Not until the symptoms have been studied in other cases. I would still lock him down until enough time had passed that I was sure he's not a threat to us anymore. Hyun-soo the gamer goes upstairs to scavenge more supplies, but he knows the sprinter monster is still around and has an idea. He sets up multiple springs and fishing line to act as an alarm while he searches the apartments. He hears his alarm go off and falls to the ground as the sprinter monster comes running into the room. Now the scene ends and we never see them fight, which is really strange. But okay, we can't fight this thing normally because he's so fast you won't be able to react to him to fight or protect yourself. But he still relies on the laws of friction to launch himself forward, and simply by reducing friction, we can slow this guy down. Instead of alarm balloons, I'm greasing up the floors with oils, dish soap, KY jelly, anything I could find to make it impossible to run.
Gotta have the KY jelly.
Because he's going so fast, if he slips, he's going to crash hard. I would also line the hallways with steel wire. These things together make the building impossible to run through. Downstairs, the tenants are emptying bottles and creating Molotov cocktails when they hear one of the women blow her whistle as something lumbers towards her. They all rush out and the shopkeeper's wife realizes this thing is her husband and she insists on killing it herself. Okay, there's no TV anymore, and this is the best entertainment they can get, but it's not safe. They should use the buddy system so that someone is there with a weapon for backup if she can't handle herself. I honestly don't even know why they would wait long enough for this guy to wander out on his own. They should have killed him long before this, or contained him until he was showing symptoms of transformation and ended from within the confinement area. The firefighter reaches her fiance's office and finds his research notes from the crew blog. He had become infected and was trying to resist for 15 days as his condition would have stabilized and he would become a special infectee. That's when the military shows up and takes the woman hostage. She cuts a deal with the commander, offering the infected Hyun-soo someone who can resist monsterization in exchange for her life. Back in the apartment, the whole complex is powerless. The water is going to be cut off soon, and the food is running out. Power being out is bearable, but running out of drinking water is a problem they need to solve immediately. It's always important to be thinking further ahead than anyone else when it comes to resource management in a survival situation. A city's water and sewage is relatively automated using gravity to its advantage, so it would likely be available longer than electricity, but getting access to new sources of food and water will force you outside. There are hundreds of abandoned supermarkets across the city to scavenge, and it's the best place to start. But before it ever gets this bad, we have soil here, so we should start planting vegetables as soon as we realize this is an apocalyptic scenario. Gardening obviously takes time, but it's at least the path forward to free, sustainable food. Later, Hyun-soo here is told that the tenants have to leave soon as they're low on resources with no guarantees of their safety. He's sent down to scout the parking lot where something knocks him over and hangs him upside down. They see this on the camera and go down to help. As they walk through, they see the sprinter monster standing there, unresponsive. The med student assumes it's asleep, and they carefully walk the other way. These monsters actually sleep, which is literally a survival mechanism for the brain and body to maintain functioning and run smoothly. If it wasn't necessary for survival, a species would have evolved out of it, and that hasn't happened ever. I take account of the time, because it could mean they have biological clocks that make them more likely to sleep at this time of the day or night, and choose to scavenge the building or even go outside only during those hours. But right now, this is their best and only chance to stealth kill a sprinter monster, and I would have taken the opportunity. The squad finds the gamer in a cocoon and frees him, but the guitar stops her bat, waking up the sprinter. The med student cleverly uses the car alarms to distract the sprinter. Its greatest strength is its speed, and so if you know where it will be going, like a triggered car, you could ambush it. However, this also wakes up any other monsters in the vicinity and puts your whole group in jeopardy. So retreat is a good option until we can take them out one at a of time or have enough backup to fight them, something the old man does with his kick-ass flamethrower. Upstairs, the veteran is running for his life, but it's not going to be an option for him and it's too dangerous to fight, which leaves trapping as the best solution, but you'll only have one shot and you can't let it escape. The legs are the most dangerous part of this monster, so we need to take them out of the equation in order to beat it. His trap was a great idea because if the spider is suspended, it can't use its legs and we can either try to kill it or run away. The problem with their strategy was in thinking they could do this with this tiny little rope and a couple of screws. The monster must weigh less than this fridge, or about 120 kilograms, because tipping it pulls the spider off the ground. And judging by the fraying here, I would guess it's a natural fiber rope less than 2 centimeters in diameter, which has a lower tensile strength than synthetic fibers. Even if it can hold up the monster, it's not gonna last long, and they should have strengthened the rope by braiding it or used stronger screws so it can't break the metal frame off the wall. The other tenants try to rescue him before Hyun-soo appears and kills it.
Damn.
The next day, the nurse, the gangster, and Hyun-soo here get ready to scavenge for more supplies. But as they're pulling out of the parking lot, the car suddenly gets flipped over. The gamer Hyun-soo wakes up and sees the beefcake monster has grown gigantic ever since it left out of the building, and there's nothing he can do with his spear. Okay, this is in no way a fair fight. We'll never take it down in combat, so my thinking is if we can't fight it from the outside, maybe we can kill him from the inside. It takes 3 milligrams of fentanyl, which is only this much, to kill a man. If we're already going out for food and water at this point, we should be checking the local hospitals for drugs as well, and fentanyl is the way to go. I would inject the beefcake with as much as I could get my hands on. By sticking several needles onto the monster, you might just have a shot. The old man throws Molotov cocktails at the monster and sets it on fire, but it's useless. He runs over to help the gamer Hyun-soo, but as he's carrying him, his nose begins to bleed and the monster is back for revenge. A fire truck crashes into the beefcake and pushes it off the ledge before pushing flaming debris onto the creature and setting it on fire. Things have returned back to normal, but the shopkeeper's wife reveals,
Please tell me that shopkeeper turns into a monster and fights the beefcake monster. That'd be fire.
help kill him. It highlights an important point though. Always clear the place out. They should have sent bands of fighters to sweep the place floor by floor, but they didn't, and now this is the consequence. The old man asks the firefighter for help finding a secret tunnel that's in the building, but then his attention is drawn to an APC driving over a bridge. The armored car breaks through the apartment's barricade, and these bandits with stolen gear come out. If I see this car drive through the wall, I know it's only interested in killing others, because it's ruined the structure of the building, making it vulnerable to monsters from outside, so they don't want the building, they want us. I'm rushing quickly to the truck and hiding beneath it. The smoke hasn't cleared, and it's the last place they would look for someone. All the tenants are rounded together in the lobby, where this guy draws the outline for their new jail, and the leader demonstrates that anyone outside of it will be shot. I'll bet they're regretting killing the beefcake, because if he was still around, he'd take care of these guys for us. The bandits suddenly get ambushed by the firefighter, leading them on a chase through the building as the rest join in the fight. That's when the shopkeeper's wife arrives, fully transformed. She kills one of the bandits and is about to stab the student, but the gamer saves his life. The kid strangles her to death and collapses from a stab wound. The bandit leader realizes that the boy's infected and has his men burn the shopkeeper's wife as he takes them into the elevator. The firefighter frees the other tenants, but another bandit stops them in their tracks. He shoots the veteran, but she eventually kills him. However, the old man realizes the veteran's nose is bleeding. Upstairs, it's not looking good for Hyun-soo. They get ready to execute him, but today it's his lucky day. One of the bandits kills the others and admits he's a monster just like Hyun-soo is, except he believes that it's natural for them to kill humans. When the gamer walks out of the elevator, he finds himself in a standoff with the other survivors, but he's able to convince them to spare the infectee's life. The truth is, they wouldn't be able to kill him anyways. We see what happens when you shoot him with bullets. All they do is bounce right back. Hyun-soo just saved all the tenants' lives in this interaction. This guy is the most dangerous man in the building, and he can't be killed. So right now, our best solution is to escape. Everyone must be working in shifts to help the old man find a tunnel, because as long as we're trapped in the building with this guy, he holds all the cards. The nurse begins having an asthma attack, and the gangster tries to take her to a pharmacy, but he's knocked out by the monster. Hyun-soo here lets them continue to make their way out, but the infectee shoots both of them. Man, this guy is seriously bad news. Defending his friends, he fights the monster, who tells him that this isn't his true form, and his special ability is to take control of dead bodies. He severely wounds the gamer, but Hyun-soo begins to transform, growing a massive wing. The guitarist gets ready to throw a Molotov, but a Molotov cocktail isn't gonna do a damn thing, and we all know it. We might be able to shoot the gas tank of the car, causing a big explosion, but if it doesn't do the job, we've made 2 enemies instead of 1. So this isn't a good idea, and we should give Hyun-soo here the benefit of the doubt, while staying as far away from him as possible. He kills the monster, but then heads for the tenants, but the now healed veteran stops him just before he dies, as the kid turns back to normal and blacks out. The firefighter digs graves for the dead when she discovers a hatch to a secret tunnel. It must be the one the old man was looking for. That night, soldiers arrive. They have the building surrounded and announce they want the special infectee, Hyun-soo. The soldiers hear an explosion and begin shooting, scaring the tenants into the tunnel. But Hyun-soo here decides to step outside to confront the soldiers. The next day, the group finds an exit and climbs out, only to be surrounded by the Korean military. The commander tells the firefighter that the deal isn't over yet, because she didn't deliver Hyun-soo to them in exchange for information on her fiancé. She's forced to join them, and the survivors are taken away on a military truck. Surprisingly, Hyun-soo is still alive, waking up in an armored car driven by the gangster who no longer has any scars. It must be the body-switching monster. He never killed him, and now he's trapped as they drive through the tunnel and into the open world. But what do you think? How would you beat the monsters in Sweet Home? Let me know with a comment down below.
I think I'm gonna have to mess around and go watch this movie. I wanna see how they killed that big buff monster thing.
If you were trapped in the house, hunted down by a blind Special Forces killer, and you can't make a sound, what would you do? The characters in this movie thought robbing a blind man would be an easy job, only for it to turn into a brutal trap that takes a shocking turn towards the end.
Yo.
I'm going to break down the mistakes made, what you should do, and explain how to beat the blind soldier in Don't Breathe. Rocky is a small-time burglar who's trying to make as much money as she can to leave Detroit and head to California with her sister. She finds out from her partner there's a house in Skid Row where a veteran lives alone, and a whole lot of cash is sitting around inside. She doesn't have a clue that this will be the last robbery of her life. The burglars scout out the veteran's neighborhood and spot him outside walking his dog, and they notice he has a cane. This man is as blind as a bat, and the job appears to have gotten a whole lot easier. But if they took him more seriously, they would have seen a few red flags. They noticed the cane, but not that he was extremely fit for his age. That means he's exercising and active.
Don't nobody think that they about to get beat up by no exercising blind person. Homie blind, he a lick. Just so happens to be this guy wasn't as much of a sucker as they thought he was. Get it? Lick? Sucker? I'll stop.
This guy's a war veteran with a killer instinct and a body to match. He probably even sleeps with a gun, and his Rottweiler already has it in for you. So maybe not as easy as they all think. Later that night, the team begins their robbery. They slip the guard dog some sedatives, but find that the front door has several locks they can't open. Wait, this doesn't make sense. They have the key for the man's home security company. Why would he have extra locks? So far, they've been smart about this. Thorough research, 24-hour recording of neighborhood activity, but this is a bad start. 4 locks is a sign that he's not going to make.
We was never that thorough when we robbed houses. We ain't never hurt nobody, we just stole shit.
Things easy for you, especially since he's a military man. I would bring brass knuckles or other self-defense weapons so that we have a better chance in a confrontation.
Damn.
Nothing they try works. The side door to the house is locked shut, and so is the cellar door. But Rocky spots a window above them and clambers up the side. She breaks in through the bathroom window and sneaks as fast as she can to shut off the burglar alarm before it goes off. This girl knows what she's doing. The problem is he's blind, not deaf. Cracking glass with a rock is noisy, and stomping around in boots is going to wake him up. The blind develop enhanced hearing and the ability to track movement. Also, the statistical majority of US soldiers experience terrible insomnia, and he just lost his daughter. He would definitely be a light sleeper. Considering who they're up against, being silent here could save you. For this, they could have used duct tape. It pads the sound and keeps most of the glass shards intact. And while taking your shoes off is smart, it's another loose end. With everyone inside, they begin searching the house for the cash. One of the guys enters the veteran's bedroom where he's about to fill it with sleeping gas, but the soldier suddenly gets up. It's time to acknowledge that this man is crazy alert. Just puncturing a plastic bottle wakes him up. If that doesn't change your strategy, then you might as well write your will and testament. But it's a lot of money, and if you've gone this far, I wouldn't call it quits just yet. What you should do now is lock him in. This can be done by tying the knob to a heavy piece of furniture or using a specialized security bar to force it shut. None of them have found any money, but they do find this door with some crazy locks on it. They try forcing it open with a pry bar, and when that doesn't work, one of the burglars pulls out a gun and shoots the lock off. Alex here begins to realize this can only end badly for them. So far, they broke into his house, damaged his property, and brought a gun into the home of a veteran with superior skill and knowledge in firearms. Castle law dictates this guy can defend his home, and if you think shooting into a plastic bottle is going to keep it quiet, you're dead wrong. The best homemade silencer would be a modified oil filter. It might be bulky, but it's gonna do the job. Alex decides enough is enough and leaves, and he's the only one thinking straight because things are about to go terribly wrong as a blind man suddenly appears behind them, and they're definitely underestimating how much this Gulf War vet can do. The burglar tells him he just stumbled and drunk, but the vet steps on the broken bolt lock and knows exactly what it is. He threatens him with his gun, shooting a warning shot, which alerts Alex outside. He moves in, grabs the gun, and disarms him. It's officially time to freak out. They're completely outmatched. He slams the gun to his neck, asking one simple question: who else is with you? In this moment, we need to take stock of some important facts. You won't overpower him, you can't sneak up on him, you can't find the money, and there's no way to save your friend. If you're the first to bolt, you might get away. Heartless, I know, but that's the life of a criminal. He will definitely shoot if he hears you running, so I'd throw something as a diversion, stay low to the ground, and sprint for the door. If I'm still alive, I can make new friends, and never mention this to anyone. Instead, they all panic in solidarity. The burglar tells him that he came alone and gets promptly shot. Horrified, Rocky hides herself in a closet as Alex comes back in and finds the blind guy is locking things down, literally locking the door shut and boarding up the broken window. This is terrifying, but he has a shot here. The gun is near the sink, within arm's reach. I would grab it and shoot him dead, wipe the prints, and place it in the hands of my dead friend. That's at least what I'd like to do, but I'm way too much of a coward for that. Let's just close our eyes and hope this all goes away. From the closet, Rocky sees the veteran open a safe and input the PIN code, a simple 4-digit combo that's going to pay off big. Alex finds her, and together they discover that inside the safe are bundles of cash. Now they got what they came for, but how are they going to leave? Remembering that there's a storm cellar outside, they head for the door, only to find the veteran blocking their only escape plan. He begins to drag the dead body out, but as they slowly back away, he hears the floorboard creak.
No!
Wood floors are impossible to beat. It's too late for WD-40. Your only option is to cover your mouth and stay breathless and motionless until he leaves the room. That's what I would do, but the truth is, it might get me killed just as quickly. When your heart is racing, it's using up your body's oxygen reserves, making it very difficult to hold your breath for long. The right strategy is to breathe through your mouth slowly, as it's less noisy because it's a wider air passage. The burglar's phone goes off and he shoots at it. It's a distraction that saves their life, but if I'm seeing this, I'm losing all hope. His aim was incredible for a blind man. It definitely makes running for an exit a bad strategy. He continues carrying the body out of the room, giving them the chance to find a way out, but they're about to find a horrifying surprise awaiting them in the basement. They can barely see anything. They're stumbling around with no exit in sight when out of nowhere, a woman leaps at them. She's gagged, tied up, and chained to a wall. This just got way more intense. Killing an armed burglar is one thing, but this is insane. They now understand who they're dealing with, a psycho killer who plays by his own rules. And upstairs, he just figured out that these guys are still in the house. I told you those shoes were a bad idea. Rocky goes to rescue her and realizes that she's the girl who killed the blind man's daughter. This is his revenge. She directs them to a safe, and lucky for them, he used the same combo. Inside they find keys and use them to free her, not realizing that this kind of act was their biggest mistake of the night. Now it's good to help people, but right now it's not smart. Escape gets a lot harder with 3 people, let alone 2. And it's strange they never think to take off her gag. She might have told us about the bell she's rigged with, and from there an ambush could be planned by luring him down with it. As long as we stay silent, we have a chance to knock him out and lock him in. But let's not kid ourselves. This is a gamble, because if you have to fight him, you've already lost. The cellar door gets unlocked and the man starts firing, grazing Alex, shooting at Rocky as she breaks her phone, and accidentally killing the girl they were trying to rescue. Taking cover, they retreat into the basement. The man cautiously steps down and slips in blood, realizing the woman is dead, and begins crying. This is not what you'd expect if she killed his daughter. There might be more to this than it seems. They watch in the shadows as the blind man locks the door and breaks the key in the hole, guaranteeing no escape. The burglar's only plan left is to make a break for the other room and get to the front door, but suddenly, all the lights in the basement go off. It's pitch black, and they have to reach out to find their way around, while the veteran is literally sprinting through the dark corridors. It's the perfect death trap for a blind man. He starts firing at them, and taking cover, the two split up as they try to navigate the basement. Rocky moves along a shelf and has no idea that she's about to bump into the veteran. She's practically breathing on him, and is only saved by Alex's calls, luring the blind man towards him. The veteran somehow finds Alex and grabs him, shoving a gun against his head. But realizing the gun is empty, he starts strangling him. Luckily, he's able to knock a shelf onto the veteran before running away to get the girl. We've lost our single advantage over him: sight. How do we escape? You can start by confirming where he is. Draw him in with a noise and hide on a lower shelf to hear him walk by, effectively mapping part of the room for you to run in the opposite direction. He has the whole place memorized, but he will follow what he hears. Once he's distracted, make your way towards the light quickly. They scramble to get out of the basement and jam the door shut, but find themselves staring down a massive Rottweiler. Rocky goes to unlock the front door while Alex tries his best to keep the dog calm. He nearly succeeds, until the veteran tries to break down the basement door, sending the dog into attack mode and forcing them upstairs. They barricade themselves in one of the bedrooms and try to escape through the windows, but they're barred. It's a bad situation that only gets worse as the veteran starts breaking through the door. Alex suggests pressing the panic button on his remote, making the point that the cops will overlook their robbery when they discover that this man is a murdering psychopath. And he's right. This lets them live, but not keep the cash, something Rocky isn't willing to do. The vet is still pushing through and they're running out of time, but they suddenly spot an air vent above that's big enough for one of them to slip through. Rocky squeezes into the crawl space just as the dog rams Alex, knocking him out of the window and on the skylight below. As if that wasn't enough, the psycho dog then climbs its way into the shaft and makes its way towards Rocky to finish the job. With no other option, she throws herself down the shaft head first, slamming into the ground. Alex is dangerously suspended on the skylight. He tries rolling slowly as the glass cracks under him, but looks up only to see the blind man shoot the glass, holding him up, sending him falling to the ground. Hurt from the fall, he walks through the house, trying to use his remote to activate the burglar alarm. Now it's risky, but we now have an open path outside. I might have tried going back up through the skylight. We'd be wearing gloves so we wouldn't get cut too badly. And judging by their height, it's possible to jump up to. But it's too late, because the blind man finds him first and fires his revolver, forcing him to hide in this laundry room right next to his friend's corpse. The veteran tracks into the room but gets ambushed and disarmed, but he should have gone straight for his head, because he grabs Alex, who quickly gets overpowered and beats the snot out of him. But the washing machines turn on, disorientating the man. Alex takes his chance and reaches for the gun on the floor. Now, if I was in this situation with my honed abilities as a coward, I would have run out of the door but kicked the gun out with me. Get out of the closed space, because it forces you to fight him, and you won't win that. The veteran manages to turn off the washing machines and stop Alex from grabbing the gun, throwing punch after punch before finishing the burglar off with garden shears. Recovering from her fall, Rocky struggles to reach the end of the ventilation shaft that leads straight out of the house. She's able to turn herself around and kick out the grate, but it's too late. She's ripped out of the crawl space by the veteran and gets knocked out. She wakes up, locked into the same harness as the woman before her. The veteran very clearly tells her he won't let her go after what she's done, and intends to keep her as a replacement. For what exactly? A baby maker. He was using the woman to make a new daughter for him to replace the one she had killed.
What?
Rocky is going to stay with him for the next 9 months.
No!
It's almost impossible to escape from this unless you're prepared in advance. Handcuffs have a universal one-fits-all lock. If you're a criminal, they'll likely come in handy. You can tuck it in your waistband to access when you're cuffed. It's looking hopeless for her. The blind man has won and there's nothing she can do. But upstairs, Alex gets up from the floor. He's still alive because the other burglar's body was stabbed instead of his. Now he has his best chance to escape. With some quick thinking, he's able to trick and lock the dog inside the laundry room, giving him time to unlock and open the front door. He needs to leave. It's not about money anymore.
Damn the female, bro. Get out. She'll be alright. She's got vagina to fall back on.
This is pure survival. If both of you are caught, it won't help anyone. He's had the drop on you at every turn, and without even being able to see. Get out and get help. Back in the basement, the veteran disposes of the girl's corpse and hoists up Rocky to prepare her for what's to come. Now, he's not going to force himself on her. Oh no, it's way worse. He grabs this bottle of frozen goo from a fridge, gets it nice and warm, and fills a turkey baster with it. It's an absolutely horrifying moment for Rocky, who tries to rip her way out of the harness, but there's no escape. This is going to happen. Just as she's given up all hope, blood splatters on her face, and the blind man gets knocked away by Alex. He came back to set her free, taking the cuffs off and placing them on him. She swears that she'll get the veteran arrested, but Alex points out that it would end badly. They've broken into his house, stolen his money, and assaulted him. It would be child's play for the guy to turn the cops against them. They have to let him go if they want to get away. It appears to be over, but just as they make it back upstairs and open the front door, Alex gets killed by the blind man, leaving Rocky the sole survivor who makes it out of the house. It seems like she's safe, but then his dog comes bolting out of the house. You can't outrun a Rottweiler. It's not going to happen. If you're being chased by a dog, standing still and slowly walking away will usually work in this situation. But this dog might be related to Cujo, so I can't blame her for running. But she might have had a better chance to run around the back of the house, where there's more cover and more obstacles to put as much between yourself and this crazy canine as you can. It chases her all the way back to her car and snags a hold of the money bag, leaving her stuck inside. And to make matters worse, she dropped the money outside the car. The keys are nowhere to be found. She's trapped. But she comes up with an ingenious plan that would have made MacGyver proud. She opens up the trunk to lure the dog inside and then yanks on the rope she attached to trap him in, while at the same time pushing the passenger seats back into place, effectively caging the dog, at least for a moment, before it rips its way out. Man, this dog has no chill. It gets so close that it's almost able to bite her, and this gives her the chance to hook the release latch onto the dog's collar, pulling it back and giving her the space to get out and grab the bag. Now, if only she was a bit more careful, she would have gotten away. Dragged back to the house and dropped right next to Alex's corpse, it's utterly hopeless. But maybe she's got one last trick up her sleeve. She grabs Alex's remote and activates the panic button. Alarms start blaring throughout the house and overwhelm the veteran. Rocky picks up a pry bar and blitzes the blind man, hitting him as she cleverly takes advantage of his confusion. But just as she's about to land one more blow, the alarm shuts off. The veteran hears the floorboard creak behind him, and he turns. But he's too slow on the draw and gets sent flying, knocked into the basement floor where his gun goes off, shooting a leaky hole into himself during the fall. She takes a breath as if for the first time all night. With the money in hand and the veteran dead, Rocky leaves the house just in time before the police arrive. Later, as she and her sister are waiting at a train station, she sees a news report about the robbery. There's no mention of her or any money being stolen, but the veteran is still alive, recovering in the hospital. He hasn't told anyone about what really happened, but who knows what he'll do once he's finally out. But what do you think? How would you beat the blind soldier? Let me know with a comment down below.
Run, ho!
If you were tricked into joining a death game where you have to kill players for cash,
Damn,
what would
bitch.
you do? There's no way to escape this place.
Damn,
so I'm
bitch.
going to break down the mistakes made, what you
Oh,
should
shit.
do, and how to beat the death game in the Insight Mill. This man is about to make the biggest mistake of his life. Yuki here is desperately looking for a part
Desperately looking through porn inside of a phone book in an abandoned gas station. Yuki is down bad with the worst of them.
part-time job, and he's about to give up when he turns around to see a beautiful girl behind him. She notices that he's looking for work and suggests he check out this job offer she's been given. He reads the description on her phone and is blown away to discover that it's paying $972 an hour. It's too much to turn down, and Yuki applies for the job. Later, he's picked up in a limousine.
Yeah, $1,000 an hour, my nigga. Trust and believe. I'm at the job interview with you, and if you get hired and I don't, I'm robbing your bitch ass. Blackout, blackout. I dropped some chocolate onto my lap. It's okay though, because we were still well within the 5-second rule. Any longer, and we would have had to switch to the 10-second rule.
Along with the other applicants, and they're all excited to find out more, but they have no idea that it's going to be the worst experience of their lives. They arrive at a strange
Run,
building
bitch!
far from the city, and all the passengers get out of the limos, but nobody comes out to welcome them. Something doesn't feel right, but with money on the line, they all head inside. Walking into the building, the group finds an empty lobby where a voice tells them to put all their belongings into the lockers. For the next 7 days, they'll be locked inside a research facility where psychological data will be gathered and everything they do will be monitored. The test subjects will be put through immoral situations, and this is their last chance to turn back. But everyone agrees to participate and head deeper inside the building.
Put down in this comment section down below if you would do this for $1,000 an hour. No, I wouldn't. I could find easier ways of making $1,000 an hour.
The group steps inside a luxurious dining room, but as the last person enters, the door behind them locks shut. Looking around the room, the group sees a countdown showing how much time they have left,
Oh,
but
no.
there's a strange number counting below it. None of them understand what it's for, but seeing that a meal has been prepared, they all sit down to eat dinner. Osako here suggests they all get to know each other, and they go around the room making introductions, but that's when they suddenly hear a voice on the PA, and realize it's coming from this figurine. It welcomes them to
Oh,
the
shit!
experiment, and introduces a robotic guard that will be their only
No.
other companion for the next 7 days.
No.
A presentation suddenly starts playing, and explains the rules of this facility. First, everyone must stay in their rooms after 10 p.m. or else the guard will eliminate them from the game. The second rule is, if a crime happens, then they must solve it and find the culprit. The group will vote on who they think committed the crime, and if a majority agree, the criminal will be sentenced to prison. But there's one final rule. The game ends if 7 days have passed, or when only 2 survivors remain, and from this point on, things are going to get violent. Okay, this guy really
So they got them out here playing live action Among Us. Damn, just chocolate bar is worth it. Delicious.
didn't learn his lesson from Kaiji, Death Note, or Battle Royale. And
Nigga.
his biggest mistake was missing the telltale sign.
I love how this nigga literally got caught in all of these. In all these movies, they got his black ass, and he still fell for this shit again. Come on, bruh. Get your shit together. This shit chess, not checkers. Protect your goddamn night. Shit.
Of a death game. First of all, if you're being offered $1,000 an hour, you have to assume
That you're sucking dick. Gotta assume that's just out the gate. And believe it or not, there's worser things than sucking dick for money. You know? I don't know any of them, but let me tell you, they exist, and there's not a lot of ways to forget.
that what you're being asked to do will be worth that much money in return.
You
No
gotta
one
eat
in this
ass.
group has a skill set that deserves this kind of salary.
Eat ass,
So the
nigga.
logical conclusion is that they're probably going to make you do something that's pretty f***ed up.
Yeah, pretty
Secondly,
yeah.
this rules presentation gave them plenty of reason to think they're in danger because it used the word survivor. This is a clear indication that the losers won't make it out of here alive, and if we want to escape this place, we have to act on this information before everyone else. The first thing we should do is find every player's weakness like we're Sherlock Holmes, so we can take advantage of them when the shit hits the fan.
You know what? That's exactly what I was about to say. I'm lying. I was about to say the first thing we should do is have sex with this attractive Asian girl because you got to make allies. The more females that you give this dick to, the more those females want to be your friend and make sure I survive. That was my strategy in the streets. If you out in the streets giving out bad meat, then you get killed or set up to be robbed. That's what happened to my sister's father. Should have been pounding harder, bro. That's a morbid ass joke. No, he really did get set up by a female that he thought he was about to get some ass from. And the guy came out of the house and shot him in the face with a shotgun. Luckily enough, he lived for a couple more years, but gotta be careful with these hoes, bro. Gotta be careful.
You look here, you can see that all the players have a packed bag except for these two. This is extremely suspicious because everyone knows that they're going to be here for 7 days. These two players are already acting like they have nothing to lose, and that makes them sussy like you wouldn't believe. Thankfully, they've both already given away more information than they realize. At the dinner table, this man's hand is shaking, and that's most likely a sign that he's an alcoholic. He introduced him.
No, nigga, that's a sign that he might not be good at chopsticks. How are you gonna make that awful of a generalized judgment about someone so fast? Man, you saw that guy not be able to pee in front of people? Clearly a rapist. And I'm gonna sleep on my back because I'm not falling for that shit again. I'm gonna edit that out.
Himself as the CEO of a company, and it's normal Japanese work culture to take their clients out for heavy drinking. This is great news for a death game strategy, because if there's any opportunity to poison his drink, he's going to find it hard to resist his addiction. This other man has less obvious characteristics, and that's exactly why he might be a wanted criminal. The man is intentionally dressed as inconspicuous as possible by hiding his face and wearing nondescript clothing with muted colors. This is known as gray man tactics, and it's even used by espionage operatives to avoid any unwanted attention. If he's accustomed to moving in the shadows, he's going to be a very skilled opponent.
Bro, this nigga ain't Batman. He's just a nigga that don't like a lot of attention. He's a loner. This dude Cinema Summary is picking on people.
And that's why I would make sure he's killed first. Now, as a general strategy, there's a good way to test the rest of the group to figure out how well they're going to react to this death game. If it were me, I would choose not to eat the food on the first night. Anyone who notices that we haven't touched our meals and decides to copy us means they're very observant and wondering if it might be poisoned. This is a litmus test for who's thinking about their own survival and who is not.
Dumbass.
Yuki here tries to reassure everyone that nothing bad will happen since killing each other was never in the job description. But Nishino points out they're trapped here with no way to escape or call for help. It's a death trap, but Yuki has an idea. He suggests they should all promise not to hurt each other, and the old man agrees with him. It's the only way they'll survive, and if they don't establish trust, it's going to turn into a bloodbath.
Bruh, one of the worst things you could do in any situation is trust motherfuckers. It's been proven time and time again that in situations of stress or even in situations of non-stress, niggas will just tell you whatever they want you to think about. I mean, you really think when I was out here cheating on bitches back in the day that I was like, well, you know what I'm gonna do with your cousin if you leave her alone with me? Like, no, nigga, I was lying to the bitches.
In the hallway, this girl asks her boyfriend why he lied earlier by introducing himself as a medical intern, but that's when he
Because
sees
you don't wanna
Maki
tell
walk
niggas
by and
this.
pulls him aside, asking for his support whenever there's a vote. The kid tells him he'll think about it, but as he's walking away, Nishino here approaches them. He suggests that the old man and EY looked like wanted serial killers from the news, making the group more suspicious of the other players. Meanwhile, Ando here looks around and finds dried blood on the wall. It's
Oh,
a
shit.
sign that they aren't the first people to join this experiment, and it doesn't look like things ended well for them. Preparing for curfew, Yuki here walks into his suite and closes the door, but discovers that there's no lock. It's unnerving, and the man continues looking around, finding this strange metal box inside. Putting his key card in the slot, a light turns on and he lifts up the lid, discovering a fire poker inside along with a card. He picks it up to read, and it instructs him to murder someone using the weapon, as the man realizes that this has officially turned into a death game. The next day, he wakes up to find Shoko standing right beside his bed. She asks if he's looked inside his box yet, and Yuki realizes her room has one as well. Suddenly, they hear screaming in the hallway and run outside to discover the first victim lying on the floor. It's Nishino, and as the last test subject arrives at the crime scene, he can't help but laugh. Yuki stares at him in shock, as the players realize nobody can be trusted.
Damn, bro, you
That's
gonna
one
laugh?
down and 9 more to go. The old man finds a card along with a bullet casing on the floor, while Osako here examines the corpse. The victim was shot 5 times, but no one heard any gunfire, and the housewife thinks that the doors must be soundproof. Panicking, Yuki runs into the dining room screaming for the experiment to end, but it's no use. The doors won't open, and they have no choice but to keep playing. Okay, this just got serious.
You think? Hey, man, just keep your head up. I'll keep getting that money, my nigga. You know what I'm saying? $1,000 an hour is hard to come by. I do not want to even tell you guys what you'd have to probably do to get that much money. Run it! Run it all, bitch!
After only one night, someone's already been murdered, and it means these players are not messing around. Now, as scary as this is, it's actually the best thing that could have happened. After 144 hours, the game will end, and for every person that dies, we are one step closer to winning without having to get our hands dirty. We want to keep this pattern going for as long as possible, and that's why my strategy on the first 2 nights would be to do nothing. First of all, we know that wandering out in the hallways is extremely risky, because if we're caught by the guard, we could be eliminated, and that's not a risk I'm willing to take until I learn more. It's better to let others take these risks and learn from their mistakes instead. The biggest problem with this strategy is that this door doesn't lock, and we can't barricade ourselves inside because it's a sliding door. Anyone could come in and kill us in our sleep, so we need a way to add an extra layer of protection to prevent that from happening. The best solution here is to use our shoelaces and tie one end to the door handle. I would then tie the other end to a glass cup or a teapot and place it on an elevated surface across the room. If anyone tries to sneak in during the night, the sliding door will pull on the shoelace, causing the item to crash to the
That's
floor.
just smart.
The sound will wake us up with enough time to react to the threat, and it gives us a chance to defend ourselves without having to stay awake through the night. Now, it's going to take way too much time to run across the room and use the key card to get our weapon out of the box. So for this strategy to be effective, the smart thing to do is take our weapon to bed so that we're ready to defend ourselves if someone tries to kill us. The old man suggests they check the dead player's box, and when he reaches inside, he discovers the letter is still there. Nishino had been instructed to use a cyanide pill to poison someone, and on the bottom of the card, it says, Mystery of the Green Capsule. Shoko and the housewife are the only ones who know that it's a reference to a famous mystery writer. That's when someone starts screaming, and the others run into the hallway to find that the dead body has been moved. Turning the corner, they see the robot has carried it to this room before dropping him into a coffin, and there's one here for each of them. Osako points out that someone must have a gun in their box and suddenly accuses EY of being the murderer. The man explains that earlier, the victim suspected him of being a serial killer and must have shot him to protect his secret. Suggesting they take a vote, he asks who agrees with his theory, and the majority raise their hands. With that, the robot guard enters the room, heading straight for EY and picks the man up into the air. The other contestants follow as he's taken to another room and watch the player get electrocuted without mercy. That's 2 down and 8 more to go. Going back to his room, Yuki finally has a chance to open his box, but when he lifts up the lid, the man discovers something terrifying. His fire poker has been replaced with a gun, and that means he's been framed for murder. Nervous, he walks back to the dining room trying to act casual when this figurine suddenly announces that Osako has been awarded $276,000 for solving the crime. Mia suggests they open the criminal's box to see what weapon he had, but when they look inside, they find it empty. They just accused the wrong man, and it means there's still a killer on the loose. Okay, this is getting interesting.
No, it's not. That shit is fucked. It's screwed. People think you did it. You got the only gun, man.
First of all, they took a vote to decide if EY was the killer, but none of them tried to look for evidence to back up their claim. It would have made more sense to go into everyone's rooms as a group to check each weapon box one by one. This might reveal the true killer before they have a chance to cover up their tracks, and at the very least, it removes everyone's ability to lie about their weapons for the rest of the game. Now, whenever we solve a crime, we get more money, so there's definitely an incentive to use this strategy, but this is where things can seriously backfire. If everyone knows what your weapon is, then you won't be able to use it without getting caught, and that makes it much harder for us to kill our competition. This will give power to the most physically capable players in the game, so checking weapons at this stage would be a death sentence for most of the group. The good news is that whoever tried to frame Yuki is an idiot, because they just given him a major advantage. A gun is a huge upgrade from a fire poker because it's a ranged weapon and a lot easier to kill people with. If we can count on others to not check our weapon box, then being framed won't matter, and I'd make this trade any day of the week.
Damn that. I love that trade, man, but you got to keep that pistol on you, bro. Keep that on you, and don't keep one in the chamber either.
Now, when it comes to solving the crime, there's actually a lot we can learn from Nishino's murder, and it starts with his bullet wounds. If you look at this reference here, you can see that exit wounds have a very different pattern from entrance wounds, and this information helps us deduce that he was clearly facing his attacker without running away. We also know from this card on the floor that he was player number 9, and that means he barely made it 2 meters from his own room before getting shot. Now, what's most interesting is that Nishino here wasn't trying to murder anyone at all, because when they opened his box, they found his weapons still inside. With all this in mind, it's possible that he was meeting someone in the hallway that he didn't consider dangerous, and that person turned on him. This means whoever killed him must appear very unthreatening, but is secretly a murdering psychopath, and it's going to be the same person who planted the gun. As far as we know, the only person that's been inside of our room was Shoko here, and when she woke Yuki up, she specifically asked if he opened his box yet. That's a serious red flag, so if it were me, I would be looking for proof that she's the killer. The best case against her is to use the angle of the entrance and exit wounds and measure the bullet's trajectory. If it's straight, then the killer is short, but if the exit wounds are lower, then the killer must be tall. This one forensic observation could help us figure out if the attacker was male or female, because Nishino was roughly the same height as the women in the group and could support the theory that Shoko is the murderer. Later in the kitchen, Yuki approaches the girl and tells her someone hid the gun in his room. Surprisingly, she believes the man and apologizes for bringing him into this mess, but they're interrupted when another player walks in. He quickly leaves the kitchen and heads back to his room, but sees the housewife in the hallway trying to open Shoko's door. He runs up, demanding to know what she's doing, but the woman ignores him and heads inside. Pulling out a magnet, the housewife explains she's trying to find out if the gun's been hidden here and slides it underneath the box. She should be able to feel the weapon move if it's inside, but nothing happens. Curious, Yuki asks her why she thinks the girl might be the killer, and she reveals that everything about this place references mystery novels. Only a fan of the genre could create a death game like this, and that's why she thinks Shoko must be the killer. They never notice that someone has been eavesdropping on the whole conversation, and it's going to blow up in their faces. That night, Yuki inspects the gun and finds out every single bullet is still in the magazine. This isn't the murder weapon that killed Nishino, and it's evidence he's not the murderer. Meanwhile, the housewife heads for the rec room to find a book to read, but as she's walking through the halls, someone shoots her with a nail gun. and Mia steps out of the shadows behind her, making that 3 down and 7 to go. The next day, the players find the housewife's body on the floor, and the old man goes into her room to look for the weapon, but reveals that it's gone. Everyone gathers inside the dining room, uncertain who to trust. But that's when Maki here walks in with a nail in his hand, and accuses Shoko of being the killer. He explains that he overheard the housewife earlier, and that she suspected the woman was the mastermind behind this entire death game. Yuki argues that the girl is innocent, but that's when Osako pulls out a weapon and holds it up to his face. He reveals that this knife was in his box, and demands the girl prove her innocence by showing them her weapon too. Yuki stands in front to defend her, and the old man intervenes, trying his best to stop them from fighting, but he's pushed away. Angry, Osako asks why someone of his age and status would be here, and the old man reveals that 6 months ago, his son applied for the same job posting, but was never seen again. He joined them to figure out what happened, and now it's clear that most of them are going to die just like his son. Okay, Yuki is an idiot. He's literally falling for this girl in a death game, and that means he's not even considering her as a potential threat. I guarantee Light from Death Note here never would have put himself in this situation. This is a very dangerous dynamic, but Yuki had the perfect chance to get another player eliminated without drawing attention to himself. He's only known Shoko for 4 days, so if it were me, I'd let the group majority decide the woman's fate and lock her up. Now, time is running out, and we need to make sure we're one of the last survivors by the end of the week. The biggest advantage here is that we have a gun with a full magazine, but with 6 other players left, it's too soon to go on a killing spree. If you take into consideration everything involved in killing even one player, it's not as easy as it seems. Firstly, we need to avoid the guard, then we need to make sure everyone's in their rooms, and lastly, we will have to disguise which weapon we use to avoid suspicion in the morning. This is a long checklist of things that need to go right for us to literally get away with murder. This situation could have gone very differently for Mia here because she tried sneaking up on the housewife in high heels. One bad decision like this could destroy your chances of surviving, and it's not time to take risks unless we can win the game in a single night with as little danger as possible. Now, this actually brings up a very important point for our strategy. Right now, everyone distrusts others more than they distrust Yuki, and that's a huge advantage that we can't afford to waste. If it were me, I would tell the boyfriend that he might be the next target, because his girlfriend is giving him an unfair voting advantage when they decide who to accuse for crimes. We know that he's made a pact with Maki as well, and that means they're threats that need to be broken up. I'd suggest that he can keep himself safe by bunking with his girlfriend the next night. This would be a test of the rules, because if he survives, then we know it's a tactic we can take advantage of for ourselves. But if he gets eliminated by the guard, then it's another player down without having to risk our lives. This is the perfect win-win scenario, and he's going to be more willing to try it out because he wants to protect his girlfriend. That night, Yuki lists down all of the weapons they've discovered, but doesn't understand why the killer left the cyanide pills behind. That's when he realizes someone's in his room and stands to defend Ando by the door. The old man wants his help to prevent any more deaths and suggests they start patrolling at night. He's figured out that it takes the robot 10 minutes to go around the hallway, and they should be safe as long as they stay behind it. Agreeing to help, Yuki walks through the halls along with his friend, and she thanks him for defending her earlier. They stop walking, and the girl whispers into his ear, confessing she's been keeping an eye on him, but they have no idea that the guard has just turned back around and is heading straight for them. The players slowly walk forward, but they suddenly hear the robot beeping and run into the dining room to hide. Yuki checks if the coast is clear, but that's when this woman approaches. Pulling her inside to safety, she explains she's here to help them patrol, and the man decides to join her on the next shift. The next day, Yuki runs down the halls looking for the others and finds them in the coffin room along with Osako's dead body. The old man explains that he was somehow killed by the ceiling, pointing out this bloodstain above them. That's 4 down and 6 more to go. The man believes anyone who uses their weapon ends up getting killed, but Yuki yells that he's a liar. The guard didn't travel clockwise last night like he said, and it nearly got them killed. Wakana here promises to avenge her boyfriend, but that's when the ceiling suddenly begins lowering. It startles the survivors, and the men run out of the room to see Maki here playing with the remote control. Thinking he must have killed Osako, they follow him into his room, but the student insists he's innocent and pulls out a massive crossbow. It's proof that the remote wasn't his weapon, and Yuki tries to disarm the player but gets thrown off. Maki reloads his bow and aims it straight at him, but that's when the girlfriend Wakana runs into the room. Furious, she swings a battle axe straight into Maki's head, and the others watch in horror as she dies from her injuries, making that 6 down and 4 more to
What injuries did she have?
Later, the old man checks the dead guy's box for his card and finds instructions to shoot someone with the crossbow. That means Maki was telling the truth about finding the remote, and the murderer is still among them. The women go to the kitchen to make tea for the survivors, but while Shoko has her back turned, Mia here secretly pours something into the pitcher, and it's about to up everyone's night. They all gather in the dining room to process, and Mia serves everyone tea before taking a seat. And that's when she reveals to the group that she has a son. It's the only thing that keeps her going, and Yuki chugs his drink as he realizes this girl's keeping secrets and needs to find out more. Okay, no one is thinking this through. Right now, there are only 4 players left, and we only need to eliminate 2 of them for this death game to end. This means there's a lot more incentive for people to kill each other, and the smaller the group, the less we should trust them. For this reason, only a complete moron would accept food or drinks being served by another player. It's incredibly risky, and we already know that Nishino's weapon was a cyanide pill, so it's entirely possible that someone else has a similar weapon, or might take Nishino's and use it against us. At this point, distrust becomes a legitimate survival skill, so if I were in Yuki's position, I would have immediately suspected that we were being played and refused the drink. Instead of sitting around drinking tea, the smartest thing to do at this point of the game is decide it's officially time to go postal. The rules never said that we can only attack people at night, and if we don't have to worry about being caught and eliminated by the guard, it makes things much easier. Earlier, there were too many players to attack during the day without it backfiring, but now that there's only 4 players left, this becomes the best strategy we have. If it were me, I would walk into the dining room and pick off 2 players before they even have time to get out of their seats. It sounds cold-blooded, and that's because it is, but choosing morals in a death game is a surefire way of getting yourself killed, and that's definitely going to be your biggest mistake. Now, the best part about this strategy is that we have the most overpowered weapon in the entire game, and it's fully loaded. The only other long-range weapon is a nail gun, which nobody is carrying at the moment, so the group wouldn't be able to retaliate, and we would win. Yuki pays Mia a private visit inside her room and asks the woman about her son. She tells him that she joined this experiment because he needs a heart transplant and will only be able to pay for it if she wins. And that's when Yuki figures out that she must have killed the housewife. She has more to lose than anyone else, but he suddenly begins to feel woozy and collapses to the ground. The woman had drugged everyone's tea with a muscle relaxant, and there's nothing he can do to stop her as she takes out the nail gun from her box. She tries to kill him, but narrowly misses his head, giving Yuki an opportunity to push her over. He crawls out of the room as fast as he can and tries to run away, but he's too weak to escape. The man is going to die, but that's when the robot guard approaches them and warns the players to get back to their rooms. Taking his chance, Yuki pushes her away and finds cover in a nearby room before closing the door. The woman is stranded in the hallway where the robot shoots her to death, making that 7 down and 3 more to go. The next morning, Yuki wakes up and walks outside to see that the others have found the woman's body. He tells them what happened and explains the guard must have also killed Nishino. Since the cyanide pill was dented, Yuki suggests the man bit it to get the bonus money that's awarded to dead players so his relatives could inherit it. They theorized that he was intentionally sent into the experiment so he would die first and spread rumors so that the players would get paranoid. It was the perfect way to get them to murder each other, and that's when they hear an announcement congratulating the man for finally solving the murder correctly. Yuki wants the killing to stop and suggests they destroy their weapons before waiting out the remaining days. The surviving players gather in the dining room where he gives up his gun, swearing to leave it here overnight. The old man decides to trust him and puts down his weapon on the table, but the girl is the only person who doesn't disarm herself. The next morning, Yuki wakes up still alive and heads for the dining room where he sees Ando inspecting the gun. They're all relieved everyone survived the night, and the old man tells them he has a theory. Noticing this counter going up in number, he suggests that it represents the amount of people watching them, and the foundation running the experiment uses the money they gain from their viewers to pay the participants. Yuki refuses to kill for their entertainment and insists that they should agree to a truce, with no idea that someone is going to betray them all. Okay, Yuki is not learning his lesson. He's just agreed to a truce, but this might have been his biggest mistake. The problem is that this kid refuses to kill anyone, and the other players already know that he's way too trusting. The first night, he found Shoko in his room, but never questioned whether or not she might have tried to frame him. Then, he drank tea from one of the players and nearly got killed in the process. Now he's falling for this same trap by choosing to trust others, but this situation can still work to our benefit if we play our cards right. The most important detail these players are forgetting is that Nishino's cyanide pill could be used at any point in the game. If it were me, I would gladly surrender my gun and encourage everyone to give up their weapons for our mutual survival. Then, I would celebrate our truce by offering the old man a shot of whiskey and put the cyanide in his drink. Now, earlier I said that nobody would fall for this trick, because someone offering drinks in a death game is pretty suspicious activity, but this old man is the one exception. Ando here is an alcoholic, and that means he wants a drink more than anyone. There isn't an hour that passes where he doesn't think about it, and if he gives in to the temptation, that kind of decision making completely disregards all risk, including potentially being poisoned. His age is also an important factor because it's an essential part of old Japanese culture to never turn down a gift and always finish what you were given. This cultural practice is known as motainai, and a 60-year-old businessman would be more pressured from cultural expectations to drink alcohol if it's being offered to him. Since there are only 3 players left and we can't use our weapons, it's the best possible strategy to win the game. Nobody took advantage of this man's alcoholism or the cyanide pill, and it was a wasted opportunity. The next day, Yuki walks into the dining room, but something's wrong. No one is here, and all the weapons are missing from the table. He runs to the players' suites and discovers that the others aren't in their rooms. But as he's searching for his friends, the man sees the jail door is wide open. He goes inside to look around, realizing that EY has escaped, and when he runs back into the hallway, Yuki finds a trail of blood on the ground. Fearing the worst, he follows it until he arrives at the coffin room and walks inside to discover the old man lying on the floor dead. That's 7 down and 3 to go. Suddenly, EY sneaks up from behind and starts choking Yuki. He reveals the jail door opened, letting him escape, and confesses that he murdered Osako for getting him imprisoned. He was given the remote control as a weapon and activated the ceiling inside the prison cell before dropping it into the hallway for Maki to pick up, framing him for murder. The killer throws Yuki to the ground and beats him up before stabbing the guy in the leg. It's painful, but Yuki manages to kick him off and heads for the dining room. He runs as far away as he can from the killer, but EY catches up and pushes him against the wall. The murderer is about to finish him off when Shoko points the gun to his head. The girl leads him away from her friend and demands he drop the weapon or else she'll shoot. The killer dares her to pull the trigger, but Yuki suddenly remembers the old man sabotaged the gun. Realizing it's been booby-trapped, he warns the girl not to shoot and runs over to stop her, but EY kicks him off, pushing Shoko to the floor. The murderer goes for the pistol and aims it at the survivors, but as soon as he pulls the trigger, the gun blows up in his hands. He's killed instantly, making that 8 down with only 2 contestants left, and that means the experiment is over. The figurine announces that both the old man and Yuki have been awarded bonuses for their actions, but he has had enough. The winner knocks the figurine to the floor, upset that so many people had to die, and the door opens up, allowing the players to finally leave the facility. The 2 survivors walk back to the lobby, where a man is waiting with Yuki's prize money, and he takes his $1 million in cash, but as he's about to leave, he realizes the girl isn't coming with him. That's when Shoko reveals that she works for the people running the experiment, and her job is to draw in more viewers by making things interesting. She was responsible for freeing the murderer from jail and planted the gun in Yuki's box to frame him. He can't believe it, and the man confronts her outside, demanding to know why she helped him, but she never answers. Instead, the woman gets into a limo and drives away, leaving him alone with only the money to keep him company. Yuki begins walking back to the city when he hears someone behind him and sees it's the old man. Ando here faked his death this whole time so he could escape the death game, and the survivors head to town wishing he had brought his death note. But what do you think?
That movie looks like something I would definitely want to check out.
Cinema Summary is my shit, because without them, I probably wouldn't have decided to get into watching Squid Games, and that show was utterly awesome.
If you were trapped on an island and forced to play in brutal children's games where all the losers are executed, what would you do? I'm going to break down the mistakes made, what you should do, and how to beat every death game in Squid Game. This guy is the unluckiest man in the world. Gi-yeon here has just gambled the last of his life savings on a horse track and manages to win 4 million won. Collecting the money from the teller, he runs out to spend his new hard-earned cash and steps outside to call his family with the good news. He's on top of the world, but that's when he notices a gang of loan sharks approaching him and realizes his luck has just run out. Panicking, he runs back inside to escape them, but crashes into this woman and falls to the ground, now realizing that this pickpocket has just stolen all of his winnings. The loan sharks finally corner him in the restroom to collect his debt, but when he checks his pocket, he finds it slashed open and his money has disappeared. With nothing to collect, they force him to sign his contract with his own blood, promising to pay them back in 1 month. Depressed, the gambler sits on the subway bench to wait for the next train home, when this businessman comes over to talk to him. He asks if Gi-yeon here wants to play a game, and the gambler thinks he's just an annoying salesman, but then he opens his briefcase, revealing stacks of cash and 2 folded paper squares. The salesman invites him to play the Korean game Dakji, promising to give him 100,000 won every time he wins, but he'll have to pay the salesman if he loses. It's a ridiculous gamble, but with everything to gain, Gi-yeon decides he's in. The man places a folded paper on the ground, and the gambler tries to flip it over, but he only manages to make the red tile jump. He's failed, but when the salesman takes his turn, he flips it over on the first try.
Damn!
Gi-yeon tells the man he doesn't have the money to pay him, but the salesman offers to reduce his debt in return for 1 slap in the face. It's an offer he can't refuse, and desperate to win, he takes the slap to continue playing. He keeps losing each round, getting smack after smack, until finally, he throws down his tile and flips the salesman's paper over. Gi-yeon has just won 100 grand for playing a children's game, but it's not as innocent as it may seem. Okay. First of all, let me just say that this guy here needs to be careful, because if any of these trains are going to Busan, then he's going to instantly regret it. Now as for Gi-yeon here, accepting this game was a terrible idea. This man can't stop himself from gambling with money he doesn't even have, and against someone who walks around with a dakji in his suitcase and is clearly better at the game than him. Anyone with a brain wouldn't take that bet, but once Gi-yeon realizes that it's free money and only requires a slap in the face to keep playing, he doesn't stop to consider that this whole situation is suspicious as hell.
Bro, I ain't even gonna lie, bro. I probably would've took that bet too. You know what I mean? Why not? Ain't got shit else to lose.
Look at this guy's outfit here. This man is strictly on business, and since he approached him with such a specific agenda, it tells us he already knew that Gi-yeon is a degenerate gambler and is targeting him for some hidden reason. This salesman gave him every possible chance to make sure he's won some money from him, and nobody tries that hard to lose money unless what you're getting in return is much more valuable. Gi-yeon was too greedy to recognize any of these warning signs, and the man let his emotions get the better of him. Now, none of this guy's suspicious behavior matters if you had a proven strategy to play and win. Dakji is a game that Korean school kids play, and it's so popular that the game is even televised for mass entertainment. But it's not the strongest player who wins this game, it's the smartest and most coordinated. If you look at this player here, he manages to flip the paper in 1 try, and that's because he used the most surface area to make more contact with the other paper. If you can strike the target with the flat side of your Dakji paper, then the momentum will be transferred and carry the paper up on the bounce so that it flips over. This might seem counterintuitive, but it's just plain physics. And you can see this player was not successful because he was trying to use the edge, which is not a winning strategy. If Gi-yeon here had known the best way to play this game, he could hustle this businessman for all his cash and walk away without having to get slapped in the process.
Shit.
Now, even though he won, this one victory will soon leave the gambler to playing 6 of the most terrifying death games you could possibly imagine.
Bro, I
and
can't
instead
get
of a
just
slap
slapped
in
in
the
the face
cheek,
like
he'll
that.
soon
Y'all
be gambling
can't
with his
even do it.
life, but you don't have to. Gi-yeon here collects his winnings, and the salesman tells him he can win more money playing other children's games, but he turns down the offer. That's when the salesman stands up and reveals he knows the exact amount of money Gi-yeon owes to loan sharks and that he'll be killed if he doesn't pay it back. The gambler asks him how he knows this, and the salesman hands him a business card telling him to call if he wants to join the competition of a lifetime. Gi-yeon considers his offer, but this will be the biggest mistake of his life. Celebrating his newfound luck, he returns back home to have dinner with his mother, but the woman knows the money came from gambling. She tells him that his ex-wife is planning to move to America, and he'll only be able to see his daughter if he has the finances to prove he can care for her.
Bruh, man, his grandma a whole hater. Look, baby girl, we just got all this whole spread of delicious foods and shit, and all you could tell me is about how you don't trust where the money came from? Damn. Damned if I'm broke, damned if I'm rich. God damn, bitch. Shit, pick one. Shit.
Gi-yeon is devastated, and realizing she's right, he decides to call the number on the business card, telling the salesman that he accepts his offer to play another game. Later that night, he waits outside to be picked up when a van pulls up to the sidewalk. Getting inside, he begins to notice that all the other passengers are asleep. But when the van starts to fill with toxic gas, the gambler realizes he's just f***ed up big time and gets knocked unconscious. When the man opens his eyes, he wakes up to find himself lying in a bunk bed, surrounded by hundreds of others in cots just like him. They're all wearing uniforms with numbers on them, and as everyone gathers in the center of the room, the front door opens, and a team of guards walk inside. This man with a square mask tells them they'll be playing in 6 different games, and those who make it through all 6 games will get a cash prize. This man demands to know why they were brought here, and the guard presses a button, playing a montage of several people being slapped.
Shit.
Everyone in this room is drowning in debt,
Damn,
and
that's
they've all
racist.
been invited here to win enough money to pay it
gonna
off.
show
The
a
players all line up
montage
to
of
sign
me getting
consent
beaten
forms
the hell
with 3
up?
clauses, stating that they must keep on playing,
Disrespect.
that if they refuse to play, they'll be eliminated, and that the games can be ended if the majority of players agree to stop.
Damn.
Okay, there's nothing more dangerous than a room full of desperate people who have nothing to lose. And that's why the real threat are these players.
Yep, that's where sex comes from. Room full of desperate people, nothing to lose. I am so sorry about that to the people I would like to take this time to apologize to all the women I've hurt and peed on over the years. Y'all didn't deserve that. Mostly.
Not just the games. From the video that was played, we can see the Dakji salesman use the same trick on
Ooh,
everybody, and
damn,
they've only
slap the
invited
service
players who are
bitch.
willing to gamble money they don't have on a game
Shut
they're
up,
likely
bitch.
to win. It's textbook psychological manipulation, and it proves this wasn't a game for cash. This was a test that everyone in the room passed, and now they know what we're willing to say yes to, which should scare the crap out of us.
Gotta play
if
for
we all
hoo-ha.
agreed to play for more money,
Butt
then we can be
cheeks.
sure that the penalty for losing
Butt
is
stuff.
going to be a lot worse than a few slaps.
Oh, shit.
Now, if you pay close attention to the details of this place, you'll realize that Guillaume here is about to have a really shitty day, because this place looks like a death camp designed by IKEA and
Bro, that shit looked like the jail I was in when I was younger. I mean, like, I was in it, you know what I mean? I went to jail. I was in jail for like 3-4 months. It's out here in Las Vegas, the CDC, where they let you out right behind the Silver Nugget downtown and shit. But the bunk beds was set up just like this. This crazy story, bro. I had to fight this one inmate. He tried to rob my bunkie. He wasn't trying to rob me. He was trying to like hold him out of his shit. Like, yo, hey, don't open that up, because it was all on styrofoam. That's where all the food was. Homie was trying to eat his food and shit. Homie was like, no, don't even open that up. Pass that over here. And my bunkie, he was like 120 pounds. You know what I mean? Just turned 18. Got caught from stealing from a freaking department store, following the wrong crowd and shit. So, you know, I don't know. I got a thing with bullies. I don't like seeing people bully people that they know can't fight. I don't like that, because I had it happen to me a lot when I was younger. I have to tell that story like on my gaming channel where I share all my stories at. But man, that shit was mad funny though. But the dude who did it, he was supposedly like a gangbanger. He was a black dude, do-rag on, supposedly a gangbanger, man. But that nigga was a female. Like, he ain't really want no smoke, man. He was mad feminine when it came to, you know what I mean? Cause like I pulled his card. I was like, yo, like, you know what I mean? Cause I'm gonna have to share that story one of these days, man.
them. Even refugee camps don't stack their bunks 6 beds high, and everyone is given a uniform with a number instead of their name, so their identities have been stripped from them, and it's an immediate red flag that this is going to become a death game. If prison rules apply here, then there are 455 other people who might kill you to get ahead, and it won't matter what game we're playing. The best strategy right now is to lay low, stay quiet, and observe our surroundings to gain more information to make sure we have a competitive advantage. A key thing to notice here is that
Competitive
these
advantage?
guards have different shapes
Bro, you
on their
better gang,
masks,
gang
but this
up.
could indicate different work roles.
Gang,
The
gang.
circles could be workers, and the square mask could be a manager of some kind.
meant for
Recognizing
sex?
power is extremely important because it helps you behave accordingly, and pissing off the wrong person just might get you killed.
Don't piss
now,
off
signing
nobody
this
in the
contract
red
is the
jumpsuit.
cherry
What
on top
you
of the
talking
death game,
about?
because after being drugged against your will and kidnapped, this whole enterprise is completely illegal, which means
Bro,
the
y'all niggas a
contract can't
booty
be binding.
house.
This is designed
That
to create
shit
the
is the
illusion of
booty
choice
house.
and keep you playing, even when things start getting really f***ed up.
Butt
The
stuff.
fact that nobody here has realized this
Unconsensual.
contract is meaningless
Nobody
tells us they
wants
are
it.
prepared for what's about to happen next. After being processed, they're all taken to
Oh,
their first game, entering an
bruh.
outdoor room with a massive clearing, and in front of them
Ooh.
is a giant doll standing at the other
Hell
end of the
nah.
field. Guillaume here recognizes one of the players as his childhood friend, Sang-woo, and walks up to say hello. Suddenly, the gates behind them lock shut, and the competitors are told they'll be playing the children's game,
Oh,
Red
shit, she
Light,
about to
Green Light.
show up
Players
what's
must run
up
to the
under her
finish line
dress.
while the doll looks away.
She
But
about
if
to
it
pull
looks
out her
back
anus
and catches
meats.
them moving, they will
She about to
be
pull out her
eliminated.
cheeks.
They have only 5 minutes to
Show
cross
your
the
booty
finish
meat,
line,
bitch.
and with that, the game begins.
Show your
The
pussy,
players
bitch.
start running across the field, but the doll suddenly announces Red Light before anyone expects it, and
Oh,
this
no.
player is caught completely off guard. It spots the man still trying to catch his balance, and a voice announces that he's eliminated. Suddenly, a gunshot rings out, and the player collapses to the ground, motionless. He's just been shot dead, and realizes they've been tricked into playing a death game. Everyone starts running for the exits, but the doll is detecting every movement, and bullets start flying.
Yep,
By
there
the
it
time
is.
the shooting stops, over 100 people have been murdered, and the surviving players are left frozen in fear. The doll turns its head back, announcing its green light, and the
better
group
get that
starts
shit
moving
together.
again, determined to make it out of here
I know why
alive.
he hiding
Using
behind
this
the other
guy like a
dude.
shield, this girl cleverly falls behind another player to hide herself from the doll's sight. It's the same girl who stole the gambler's money earlier when he was running from the loan sharks, and without hesitation, she pulls the man down to launch herself ahead of the
Oh!
pack. Guillaume here tries to move forward, but he's grabbed by an injured player who
No.
begs him for help.
No.
One wrong move, and he's going to
I'd
get
have
him
kicked
shot.
this nigga in
But
his
luckily, the
face.
doll
No.
turns back around
Help
just
me,
in
bitch.
time, and he breaks out of the man's
The
grip.
fuck?
There's now 1 minute
Help me,
left,
hoe.
and the players are finally starting to reach the finish
Yeah,
line.
bitch.
The man is only a few meters away from beating this game, but just as he takes a step forward, he trips over a dead body. He's about to fall on the ground, but another player saves his life, holding him up until the doll announces green light. With only 3 seconds on the timer, Guillaume jumps through the air and finally makes it across the finish line. The remaining players who haven't crossed are all brutally shot to death, and the survivors look up to notice a massive roof close overhead. They have no idea they're on a private island in the middle of nowhere, and the only way out of here is to win. That's 1 game down, with only 5 more to go. Okay, this is the most horrifying children's game I've ever seen. But 001 here is having the time of his life because he understands something that everyone else is too scared to realize.
That he gonna die in 2 weeks any damn way, man. The nigga look 98. He ain't gonna make it. He know he don't give a shit.
This game isn't just about speed, it's about how much ground you can cover with enough stability to freeze at any given moment.
Which is speed, technically.
With this in mind, the best method here is to walk with feet flat on the ground and a wide stance so our center of gravity stays low and stable. This old man was born for this moment because he moved with a very stable gait, and it's the best example of how everyone here needs to walk if they want to make it out alive. Now, we can't afford to be frozen and shocked like Guillaume here because there's a lot of ground for us to cover in a very short time. This room is designed to deceive you into thinking it's smaller than it is. But there's a trick we can use to gauge the distance so that we know how fast we need to walk to reach the finish line before the clock runs out. Taking advantage of parallax and anatomy, you can actually use your thumb to figure out the length of the field. The space between your eyes is about 1/10 the length of your arm. So if you stuck your thumb out, closing one eye after another, your thumb would appear to move 1/10 the distance as the guards are from where you're standing. You can actually try this right now by sticking your thumb out in front of you and closing one eye and then switching to the other eye to see your thumb move. If you do the math here, this trick tells us that we're at least 100 meters away. That means that this place is roughly the length of a soccer field. So if we want to make it across in 5 minutes, we can't afford to waste even 1 second. One of the biggest mistakes you can make here is looking at the doll instead of watching where you're placing your feet. It's important to remember that we aren't responding to visual cues here, we're listening for red light, green light. We can't risk tripping or accidentally losing our footing, so watching our feet helps us shut out unnecessary information so we can concentrate on stability while keeping our ears out for the signals. The next thing I would do is try to protect myself, and there's nothing more safe in a death game than finding a good old-fashioned meat shield. If we position ourselves behind another person, then it makes it much harder for the robot to detect any movement if we happen to flinch at a gunshot or react to another player dying close by. So walking behind someone is the best insurance we have to hide it. Now, the most dangerous element of this scenario is actually the other players trapped in here with us. We have to realize that we are extremely vulnerable to anyone who wants to kamikaze their way out of here. If you get pushed over, then they're taking you out with them, and it only takes one tiny movement to get you killed. So we'll need to stay far enough away from people that they can't interfere with their progress. The best way to do this is to position yourself along this wall.
Bro,
Natural
I'm
human
cold
instinct is
cocking
to seek comfort in
anybody
crisis,
that
and it might
touch
be
me,
drawn
yo.
to the shade here. So
Get
to
the
avoid the
fuck
other
me,
players,
like,
I
man,
would use the
I-
sunny side of the
damn
wall
that.
instead. This also gives us another point of stability to help us stop in time, and we can make it to the finish line without getting killed. After the game, the guards come in to congratulate the survivors on passing and announce that 255 players were killed. It's a horrifying number, and afraid for her life, this woman steps forward begging the man to let her go home. Several other players join her in protest, but that's when this massive piggy bank drops down above them and starts to fill with more cash than they've ever seen in their lives. The survivors are shocked, and the masked man tells everyone that they have an opportunity to win 45.6 billion won. But if anyone leaves, then they won't get a single penny. With that, a voting machine is set up in front of them, and they all cast their votes. But the majority of players agree to quit. The masked man tells them they can still come back if a majority agrees to compete again, and the players are sent back home. Now, it turns out that every single one of them realizes their lives outside are much worse than they remember. And Guillaume here returns to keep playing, but they're all going to instantly regret it, because this next death game is even more screwed up than the last. The vans take them to the private island, where a team of workers dress them into their uniforms, and the players finally wake up back in the same place as if they never left. Later that night, Guillaume talks with his childhood friend and suggests they team up for the next game to increase their odds of winning. The man agrees it's wise to join forces, and spotting the player who rescued him last game, the gambler insists this man join them too. That's when the old man asks if he can also be a part of their team, and Guillaume happily accepts him into the group, but his friend is not happy he invited someone so old to join their team. The next morning, all the players are led into a new arena, and as they pour in, they find an oversized playground in front of them. A voice instructs them to line up in front of one of the 4 shapes on the walls, and their choices are a circle, triangle, star, and umbrella. That's when Sang-woo here has a flashback to his childhood and suddenly realizes what this game is, but the man doesn't tell anyone what he's just discovered. Guillaume here asks him if they should all choose the same shape, but he rejects the idea, suggesting they should split up to reduce the risk. Finally, the doors open as the announcer instructs them to take a case from the tables, and the players find a thin piece of hard sponge toffee with a shape in the middle. They'll have to use the needle to poke out the shape in 10 minutes, but if they crack it, they'll be executed. The game begins, and Guillaume here carefully starts breaking off pieces of the candy, but another player immediately cracks his honeycomb in half. Without hesitation, the guard pulls out his pistol and shoots the man dead, making him the first casualty of this game. It starts a chain reaction, as more people are executed without mercy. Guillaume is sweating from the pressure. The umbrella is the hardest shape to cut, but suddenly the man has a revelation. Seeing the beads of sweat falling onto the candy, he realizes he might be able to melt it with his saliva from the bottom because the outline of the shape is thinner than the rest of the honeycomb. He starts to lick the toffee while other players begin to follow his lead. And with 12 seconds left on the clock, Guillaume desperately breaks apart his honeycomb, perfectly removing the umbrella from the mold. Despite all odds, he's won again. That's 2 games, with 4 more to go. Okay, this might seem easy, but if you pick the wrong shape in this game, you have an extremely low chance of surviving. For those of you who are unfamiliar, this candy is known as tyrone, and removing the shape without cracking it is a very common game that Korean vendors play with kids, which is why the players recognized it as soon as they opened their tin cans. It's made out of melted sugar and baking soda, creating a unique structure inside, which makes it hard to predict how it might crack. In fracture mechanics, this is known as strain energy, and when it releases, other microcracks start to spread, making it crumble more easily. That is exactly what makes this game so challenging, because as careful as you are, it just might make your candy crack on you without warning, and you'll be shot in the face. The more sharp angles there are in the shape, the more you are likely to break it, and that's why Guillaume here is completely screwed, because he chose an umbrella which has the most angles by far. This teammate here told everyone to split up to spread out the risk, but if you think about it, his suggestion is total bullshit. Spreading out just makes it harder for the group to work together, because they won't be facing the same problems. For this reason, I would have suggested that we all select the same shape so that whatever solutions we can find, we can all benefit from them and win. It's clear that this guy is intentionally trying to get the other players killed in order to increase the prize pool for himself, and that's cold-blooded as hell. Now, there's still a way to increase your chances of choosing the right shape without knowing what the game is. Look at how these first 2 players rush in to select a shape before anyone else. Both of them chose triangle, and when nobody's supposed to know what the game is yet, it probably means they recognize the game from their childhood. Now, this doesn't guarantee that triangle is the best choice, but given they are so sure of themselves when the stakes are life and death, it's not unreasonable to assume that someone this confident has probably figured something out. If the players were unsure of their decision, they would take more time to think about it, and if you have no idea what the game is, following their lead is going to be your best option. Now, if it just so happens that we get stuck with the worst shape possible, there's still hope here, because the rules never stated that you could only use the needle, and that opens up a lot more possibilities to win. Using your saliva is a smart move because getting it wet makes the candy softer, and you'll be able to cut the shape out without cracking it. This might seem obvious, but under a crazy amount of stress like this, it's hard to see other solutions if you're already told how you're supposed to solve them. And most of the players here were so fixated on using the needle, they didn't stop to think outside of the box. This is actually very similar to the candle problem, which was a famous psychological test in the 1950s. The subjects were given a table, a box of thumbtacks, some matches, and a candle. They were then instructed to stick the candle to the wall without letting any wax drip onto the table, but they have to come up with a solution as fast as he possibly can. What's interesting is that most of the participants didn't consider that the box itself could be used to solve the problem until their time ran out, and it had everything to do with time pressure and how the items were presented to them. We can learn from this by considering all the tools we have to work with, but none of these players realized they might be able to use the tin can here to solve their problem. Instead of licking the candy to death, they could have used the can to collect their liquids and soak the bottom of the candy way faster. All the players go back to the main room where the results of the second game are announced. 79 people were killed with 108 left standing, and that's now 34.8 billion won in the bank. Later, the players will gather for lunchtime, but when the last of them walk up to get food, they're shocked to find there's nothing left. Angry, the man yells at the guard for being unfair, but suddenly this girl stands up and points across the room, telling everyone that these players here cut the line to take seconds. The man walks up to the gangster and tries to pull the water out of his hand, but he's overpowered and the bottle shatters on the floor. Furious, this guy slaps him to the ground and starts beating him to death as the guards do nothing to stop him. All of a sudden, the scoreboard announces another player has died, and the total cash prize goes up by 100 million won. A couple of guards walk in to take the body away while everyone stares in horror, realizing that this game just got a lot more dangerous. Later, Sang-woo here tells his team to stay awake tonight in case they're attacked. The other groups are preparing for a fight, but Gyun here notices this girl across the room and recognizes her as the pickpocket who stole his money. The man approaches and invites her to join the team, but she rejects his offer, insisting no one here can be trusted. That night, they all get into their beds and nervously wait for the guards to leave the room. Once the lights are turned off, several people slowly begin to leave their cots, searching for an easy kill. Suddenly, this player panics as the thug grabs her and stabs the woman to death. This one murder causes a chain reaction, and all the other players begin killing each other for cash.
Every man for themselves,
Dion and his team
bitch!
try to defend themselves, but that's when they hear the old man begging everyone to stop fighting. And when the lights turn back on, the guards run into the room, putting a stop to the madness. Okay, this just might be scarier than the actual game so far. There are no rules or restrictions here, and when you're literally worth more dead than alive, everyone in this room has a motive to kill you. Now, with that said, this is actually the best thing that could possibly happen.
Yep.
There were a total of 27 players who died in the chaos, and while those are better odds than any of the death games so far, this wipes out a lot of the competition that we would otherwise be facing in the next challenges. All we have to do is survive the night, and the other players can kill each other off for our direct benefit. The best strategy here is to run to the corner of the room and defend your position with a group of friends. This might seem counterintuitive, but when it's completely dark and you can't see who's coming for you, being cornered in like this leaves you with only 90 degrees of vulnerability. And that's much better than being in the middle of the room where you would have a full 360 degrees to be attacked from. If you don't have a group, then we should be hiding under one of the bunk beds as soon as the lights go out. The killers won't be able to look for anyone in hiding because it's too dark to see. So this just might be the only time I'll ever tell you that hiding under the bed is a good idea. And hey, I don't mind being called a coward if we end up outliving everyone else as a result. The next morning, all the players wake up, but Gyun here notices how tired the old man is and finds out he stayed up all night watching over the team in case someone attacked them. He's exhausted, but there's no more time to rest because the third game is about to begin. The players are led into a white room where they're told to divide themselves into groups of 10. Sang-woo here realizes that a team game could mean it's a physical challenge, and thinks they should find stronger men to join them. The group splits up to search for more players, but with time running out, they only manage to bring in the outcasts, realizing that 3 skinny women and an old man could put them at a severe disadvantage. The groups are taken into another room where they see 2 massive platforms, and they're told that today's game is tug of war. They'll need to pull the rope until the other team falls off the platform to their deaths, and the guards draw lots to decide who will go first.
Death
When
ho!
it's finally their turn, Gyun and his team stand up to see who they'll be facing, but find that their opponents are all stronger than them. They're completely outmatched, and know they won't be able to beat them with brute force. But as they ride the elevator up to the platform, the old man tells them he knows exactly how to win. Gyun takes a position at the front to act as a leader, with the strongest player at the very back. The group stands on alternating sides with their feet pointed forward, and as soon as the game begins, they all lean back as far as they can, using their whole body to pull on the rope. With this technique, they're able to get the advantage within the first 10 seconds and tug the other team closer to the edge, but it doesn't last for long. Their opponents gain their second wind, and the group loses their footing as they're dragged closer to the edge of the platform. But that's when Sang-woo here has a brilliant idea. He yells at everyone to take 3 steps forward at his signal, and with no other plan, they do as he says. The group steps forward, knocking the other team off balance, and it sends them tumbling to the ground. Now with the advantage, Gi-eun's team is finally able to pull the others off of the platform, and as the blade cuts through the rope, the players collapse, just happy to be alive. That's now 3 games they've won, and there's only 3 more to go. Okay, for anyone who's picked last in gym class, this one has got to bring back some painful memories.
That
because
sucks.
it's immediately clear that the biggest and strongest players are going to dominate in this game. If you're weak or old like these guys, you're at serious risk of getting your whole team killed. Now, I'm not going to say that they won just because they had plot armor, but if I were them, I'd be looking for every possible way to cheat. Because of the players we have, it's going to be our best chance at surviving. Now, the truth is, this isn't just a children's game. Tug of war used to be in the Olympics from the years 1900 to 1920, and to this day, the International Olympics Committee still recognizes it as an official sport. If this seems like trivial information, I assure you it's not, because unlike silly children's games, an official sport has tons of rules, with governing bodies to make sure that the game is being played fairly. The reason this is important is because these rules are created to prevent teams from gaining an unfair competitive advantage.
Oh, shit.
Now, if that doesn't put a smile on your face, then you're not paying attention. Because in a death game like this, unfair competitive advantages are everything we could possibly want to stay alive. In a death game, official sport rules are basically a gift-wrapped instruction manual
that
for
Keanu
how to
Reeves?
cheat and win. Because the workers are not going to be holding a training camp on proper tug-of-war techniques, and there's no referee on this platform. If we know what the official rules are, then it's reasonable to assume that we can break them without getting punished for it. The first rule I would break is called locking. This is usually done by placing your elbow behind your thigh, and it locks up any back and forth movement in the rope. Normally in tug of war, your hands are the only point of contact with the rope, and it means that your arms are doing a lot of work. But locking helps you easily use your entire body's weight to pull with, and this rule break makes it much harder for the other team to win. Another form of cheating is for the player in the back to use what's called an anchor grip, where they wrap the end of the rope around their torso. This allows the last player to concentrate on using his full body to pull without even needing to place his hands on the rope. There are tons of tug-of-war rules that we can break here that will give us an unfair advantage, and it's the best way for a team like this to win no matter what. Now,
real.
if we're about to lose, we're going to need a Hail Mary tactic. And the best thing we can do is to have the whole team shift to one side while the player in the back ties the rope to this metal bar here. This doesn't violate any of the rules stated by the square mask, and if we keep pretending to pull while letting our arms recover, the other team will have no idea we're cheating and they'll blow their muscles out. These anchors can also be used as footholds instead of relying on the friction of the floor to push off of. The next morning, the players are brought to another room where they're given instructions for the next game. They will need to pair up with one other person, and they have 10 minutes to find a partner. The players immediately start looking for anyone that'll help them win, but Gi-eun here notices that they're all ignoring the old man. Approaching him, he reaches out a hand offering to be his partner, and the two join up. By the end, the only person who doesn't have a partner is this woman. And with an odd number of players, everyone else leaves for the game, while she's dragged away by the guards. Inside the arena, the players are led through a room that looks like an old Korean neighborhood, and are each given a pouch filled with 10 marbles. The old man tells his partner that he was good at playing with them as a kid, but makes him promise to be ganbu, best friends, if he wants a chance to survive this game. Suddenly, an announcement tells the players they must use the marbles to play a game of their choice and take all 10 of them from their partner in order to win. Sang-woo here decides to play a game of odds or evens, and his partner has never played before. But after only a few rounds, Ali here manages to get the better of him, winning all but one of his marbles. The man is devastated, and he begs his partner to help him survive, asking for one last chance to play against the other teams to take their marbles instead. His partner decides to trust him, and that's when Sang-woo asks for the man's pouch. Placing it under his jacket, he secretly switches it out with his own before stripping his shirt to create a sling. Hanging his pouch around the man's neck, he tells him to go searching for others to play against, and the man leaves. With his partner gone, he puts his last marble in the full pouch he stole and hands it over to the guard, becoming the winner. It's a filthy trick to play, but he did what he needed to survive. Meanwhile, Gi-eun plays against the old man, cheating in each round until he's down to one less marble. Realizing he's about to lose, he decides to surrender to his best friend, and Gi-eun breaks down in tears. With all 10 marbles, he walks away the winner as the old man gets killed, and with 4 games down, there's only 2 more to go. Okay, This death game has a lot more possibilities than any of the other challenges, because for the first time, we get to choose how we want to play. Now, the danger here is that there's only 30 minutes on the clock, and if your partner refuses to continue, you'll run out of time before you've won all their marbles, which
Can't you just beat them up and take their marbles? Like, isn't that a way to...
will get you killed. Playing a single all or nothing round will solve this problem, but it's a risky strategy, because if you lose, there's no way to win your marbles back. Now, these guys here are playing the game odd or even, where your opponent guesses if the number of marbles in your hand is odd or even, and if they guess right, they get to take them. Winning this game is based on pure chance, and for someone as smart as Sang-woo here, he should have realized that this game would give him no way to use strategy to gain an advantage. Instead of games of blind luck like this, we should be looking for something that your opponent thinks they can win, but that you know you can win. And for that, there's nothing better than an ancient Chinese game called Nim. This game has been around for centuries, but what makes it special is that there's actually a proven strategy to guarantee a victory. If you're not familiar with the game, this is how to play. First, we combine our 20 marbles together into a shared pile, and take turns removing either 1 or 2 marbles at a time. Whoever removes the last marble gets to keep all of them and wins the game. It's so simple that you'd think there couldn't possibly be a strategy here. But the key to this game is to always go first and remove exactly 2 marbles. Then, whatever they remove, you remove the opposite. For example, if they remove 2 marbles, then you remove 1. And if they remove 1 marble, then you remove 2. If we keep this going, then you're guaranteed to remove the last marble and you'll never lose. Most people don't know this mathematical trick exists, and that's why it's the perfect game to choose in this situation. Because when our victory depends on another player's cooperation, we can use Nim to trick anyone into agreeing to play, and they won't realize they've lost until it's too late. Now, it might be that there's just not enough time to waste in playing a full game of Nim, because the longer it takes your opponent to make decisions, the more he puts you at risk of getting executed. If that's the case, then we should follow this guy's dirty tactics and steal our partner's marbles. To do this, we should ask for their pouch in order to set up the game. But once they've handed them over, just go straight to the guard and declare you've met the win conditions. The other player will probably attack you in protest, but violence is not allowed in this game, and your opponent will be threatened at gunpoint if he does. Once you have his marbles, there's nothing to stop you from winning, and in a death game like this, we have to consider every tactic at our disposal if we want to stay alive. The victors return to the main room, and they're all surprised to see that this woman is still alive. She explains that since she had no one to pair with, the game let her skip the challenge, and after everything they've been through, the others are furious. The next morning, all the players wake up to a group of guards coming in with a coffin, and Gyun here realizes that one of their fellow players decided to quit during the night. Looking up, they watch as the man's life turns into cold hard cash, and that's when the PA announces that the 5th game is about to begin.
Damn!
The group is taken to a room with a row of mannequins wearing numbered vests, and they're told to each choose one for their next challenge. Rushing in, everyone gets their pick, but when Gyun finally steps up to choose, the only vests left for him are numbers 1 and 16. He considers taking number 1, even though that means he'll go first, but this player asks to have that number instead, and he agrees to let him take it. Finally, they're brought into the game room, and the announcer tells them they will be playing glass stepping stones. They must remove their shoes and walk over tempered glass to make it across the bridge, but if they step on a panel made from regular glass, they'll fall to their death. With 60 minutes on the clock, the first player takes off his shoes and approaches the bridge. Nervous, he jumps to the first tile and makes it, but when he moves on to the second, the man falls straight through the glass. Horrified, the other players have no choice but to continue, and more people start crossing the glass bridge. One by one, they plummet to the ground as they slowly reveal a path of stable panels for the others to follow. With the first 8 players dead, it's now the gangster's turn to lead the group, but he refuses to move on, telling the others to go before him if they want to pass. Everyone behind him starts to panic. They still have 5 panels left and are quickly running out of time. Suddenly, the gangster comes face to face with this woman, and she mocks him for being a coward. Jumping onto his platform, she locks her arms around him, threatening to pull him off the ledge if he doesn't continue. But before the gangster knows it, they break through the glass panel as they both fall to their deaths. With only a handful of survivors and less than 3 minutes left, this man crouches down to inspect the panel in front of him. Sang-woo begs him to keep on moving, but he reveals that he was a glassmaker for 30 years and can tell which panels are tempered from the reflection. The man jumps forwards onto a stable panel, and they realize his theory is working. But that's when the game decides to make things more challenging, and turns off the lights so they can't tell the difference. Panicking, Sang-woo here realizes they won't be able to see the reflections anymore, but the glassmaker has one last trick up his sleeve. He asks for something to throw at the panels, explaining that tempered and regular glass make different sounds. Gi-yeon here passes over the marble he still has, and the glassmaker tosses it in front of him. But with less than 25 seconds remaining, Sang-woo decides to take matters into his own hands. He pushes the man forward, shattering the glass into pieces, and with the path clear, they all make it to the other side. When the timer hits 0, the remaining glass panels suddenly explode and the shards go flying through the air, injuring the 3 survivors. That's now 5 games down and 1 more to go. Okay, this glassmaker was a total badass. He could have saved all 16 players if he shared his knowledge in the beginning, but he knew that keeping his mouth shut would eliminate his competition, and it was a baller move. The only mistake he made was not waiting longer, because once he revealed his strategy, the game removed his advantage and all it took was one greedy man to kill him off. Now, having said that, this game is different from the previous challenges, because it's not a test of skill or strength. When you have no information to base your decision on, choosing the right path here makes this a game of random chance. If you look here, you'll see that there are 18 pairs of panels, so this first player has a 1 in 262,144 chance of making it across this bridge. This is basically a death game lottery with odds that I wouldn't play under any circumstances unless I found a way to cheat. By the law of averages, it's fair to assume that each player will probably step on 2 panels before dying, with 1 correct guess and 1 wrong one. That means on average, 9 players will need to die in order to cross all 18 of them. If the majority of the players are going to die, then it might be the perfect time to convince them to vote on leaving the competition. This death game is like telling someone that if they don't win the lottery, they'll get murdered, and when you put it like that, it's kind of ridiculous that the first players even attempted to play. Now, if we actually choose to play the odds, we're going to have to cheat if we want any chance of making it to the next round. I'm not an expert glassmaker like this guy here, but all I need to know is that if you throw something through a window, it's going to break. That's exactly why I would have collected these shoes here, take my jacket off, and tie a knot at the end of the sleeve. Then, place a bunch of shoes inside so that we can swing it in front of us to test if the glass will break or not. If it cracks, then I jump to the opposite panel and continue until I reach the end. If for some reason this method fails, we can also try walking on the metal bars here instead of the glass. Now this might be considered unacceptable to the game designers, but if someone doesn't try it, we'll never know if it's allowed or not. The only win condition for this challenge is to make it across the bridge, and we've already seen other games where the players are able to manipulate the rules to their advantage. If you remember in the last game, Sang-woo here tricked his teammate into giving him the marbles instead of playing for them. And when things get desperate, these are the kinds of tactics that we need to start using. If we don't test the boundaries of what's allowed in each and every game, then we might be missing out on some of the best strategies that will keep us alive for longer, and it's a terrible waste of an opportunity. Later, the players are rewarded for surviving to the final game and given the first real food they've had in days. Starving, the men dig into their steaks, realizing this could be the last meal of their lives. When they finish eating, the staff leave them with their steak knives, and by all appearances, this next game is going to be a vicious fight to the death. That night, Gi-yeon here decides to approach the girl to talk. He asks her what she'll do if she survives, and the girl reveals she wants to get her mother out of North Korea so their families can reunite. It's a touching moment, but suddenly Gi-yeon looks over and notices the other player slouching in his bed. He's fallen asleep, and the man realizes he's got the perfect opportunity to kill him. Pulling out his steak knife, he's about to step forward when the girl stops him, insisting he shouldn't play this way. He hesitates, but the man knows she's right and puts the knife away. That's when he hears the girl gasping and turns around, shocked to find her leaning over in the bed, and realizes she was injured by the flying glass in the last game. Worried, he runs over to the front door and screams at the staff to treat her wounds. To his surprise, the lights suddenly turn on as the workers enter the room carrying a coffin, but they aren't here to help. Gi-yeon looks behind him and sees Sang-woo standing over the girl's bed, and his knife is soaked in her blood. Furious, Gi-yeon goes to attack him, but a guard intervenes, shoving the player to the ground, and as he screams in fury, the coffin closes over the woman's body, leaving the final 2 players left with one last game. Okay, this was devastating, but we all should have seen it coming. Sang-woo here has managed to stay alive because he's the most cold-blooded player in the game, but that's why he was 100% correct to kill this woman. He realized that with 3 players left, there was a huge risk that if the others banded together, they would have a majority. Using the 3rd clause of the contract, this will let them force a vote to quit the game, and he wouldn't be able to stop them. If it were me, I wouldn't let that happen under any circumstances because we've come way too far to give up now. That's why he took matters into his own hands before it got that far, and it was a brilliant move to make. Now to be fair, this girl was already bleeding out, and was simply not strong enough to compete in the next game. Her only options were to kill the men during the night, or to force a vote and return back to the mainland. Both of these benefit nobody but herself, and Gyun here seems to keep forgetting that he's a finalist in a f***ing death game. Sang-woo just did him a huge favor and wiped out 33% of the competition, so as heartless and cold-blooded as it was, the man did exactly what he had to do. The two men are taken to a corridor where they're told a coin will be flipped to decide who will be defending or attacking. Picking triangle, Gyun here wins the toss and chooses to play offense before the players are finally told that for the last round, they will be playing Squid Game. As the attacker, Gyun must enter the squid-shaped court and tap his foot inside a circle on the other end to win. The defender wins if he manages to toss the attacker out of the court, but any kind of violence is allowed and the last person standing will be the winner. Suddenly, the sky goes dark and it starts to rain as the two players take their positions. Determined to get vengeance for the girl, Gyun here walks towards his childhood friend and starts swinging his knife, but the other player manages to get him in a chokehold. The two men go at it, and as the players get locked into a wrestling match, his opponent picks up his knife before stabbing Gyun deep into the thigh.
Damn.
He kicks the other player away from him, but with his injuries, he can barely defend himself. The man walks up to him and tries to end his life, but Gyun won't give up, catching the knife at the last second and bites his ankle, forcing the man to back off. Exhausted, he climbs over his friend and beats him into the ground.
When you try to eat a
Sang-woo
nigga's
is
foot,
too
that's
weak to
when you
continue,
know.
and even though he has the perfect opportunity to kill him, Gyun spares his life. Getting onto his feet, he asks the guard about clause number 3, and if they are still allowed to end the game if both players agree to quit. He then offers a hand to his friend, telling him they can both go home, but the man decides to sacrifice himself, letting Gyun win by default. He's completed all 6 games and earned 45 billion won, but has just lost his friend in the process.
Hey, what, your friend?
Sang-woo took the honorable way out, but to be fair, this guy had it coming to him because he was just about the worst childhood friend you could ever ask for. First of all, he tricked Gyun into picking an umbrella in the second game, knowing that it might get him killed. And he also stole his other teammates' marbles, which was downright disrespectful. Now, having said that, we cannot get emotional like Gyun here, because this kind of behavior will backfire on you quickly. He's furious that Sang-woo killed the girl, but it's distracting him from his priorities of staying alive and finding strategies to win this last game. Now, if the man had kept his cool, he would have noticed that on the walls of the room were images that told him exactly what the next game would be.
Damn.
These pictures have been here the whole time. And if Gyun had noticed this drawing of the Squid Game court with only 2 players inside, with that kind of evidence, all you need to know is how to play Squid Game to figure out what tactics will give us our best chance to win. So let's break down how this game actually works. First, there are 2 sides, an offense and a defense. The attacking players begin the game by trying to run across the court here while the defender tries to stop them. If they succeed, the game enters stage 2, and the attacker must run through this narrow gap and break the defense, but only wins by tapping his foot on this tiny space. Lastly, if he gets pushed out of bounds by the defender, then he loses. Now that you know the rules, imagine if you're the attacker trying to run through this gap. Except this time, the defending player here is holding out a steak knife. This is why choosing to play offense is a terrible strategy, because they're actually not playing Squid Game at all. They're playing a new game called Kill Your Childhood Friend.
Yeah, that's real.
The fact that they are both given steak knives completely changes how we should be thinking about this. To put it another way, if sumo wrestlers were allowed to use steak knives in competition, they would have to completely change their regular strategies in how to play and win. In this scenario, Gyun has to make it through this tiny opening without getting stabbed, but all Sang-woo has to do is push him out of the court or kill him. Choosing the defender is going to give you a better chance to win, because the knife makes it almost impossible to enter the gap without getting seriously injured. If I were him, I would even try standing where the opponent is supposed to tap his foot. This lures the attacker closer to the edges of the court here, and we might be able to throw him out of bounds to win the game. It doesn't require nearly as much energy, agility, or endurance as the offensive player needs to have, and that's why Gi-hun made the worst possible choice. Now, this is not the only mistake that he made, because even while the game was being played, he was so caught up in gaining revenge that he completely forgot the main objective. This man had several opportunities to run through the gap and tap his foot on the circle to win, but he completely ignored it and continued fighting. It's the same problem he had at the beginning with the Dakji player, because when he finally won and flipped the paper, he was so caught up with his emotions that he wanted to return the slap and forgot that he was playing for 100,000 won. It's Gyun's worst character flaw, and it nearly cost him his life. He's taken back to the mainland and dumped on a sidewalk with a special debit card as a reward. When he puts it into an ATM, he discovers it's full of the prize money from the death game.
Damn.
1 year later, Gyun here is miserable and hasn't touched any of the money he won. But as he's sitting on a riverbank, a woman asks him to buy one of her flowers before they wilt. He pays for a single rose and she gives it to him, but then he discovers an envelope was attached to it with a pink ribbon. Opening it, he finds out it's a Squid Game business card for the old man, inviting him to a reunion in the city. Going to the address, he enters his building and is shocked to find the old man lying in a gurney. He's somehow still alive, and Guillaume demands an explanation about who he is. The old man tells him he created the death games and the only reason he joined was so that he could feel like a kid again. Guillaume is completely disgusted, but the old man dies before he can answer any more of his questions.
Damn.
Several days and one crazy haircut later, he's traveling to the airport to visit his daughter when he spots someone slapping a guy on the platform, and he realizes it's the Dakji player who gave him the business card.
Damn.
Furious, he runs over to the other side of the tracks to confront the man, but he's already gotten the train and left. Guillaume here walks up to the person he was playing with and sees he was given a card. Taking it out of his hands, he discovers it's an invitation to the death game. Later, he's about to board his plane and decides to call the number on the card. He demands to know who the kidnappers are, but the person on the other end tells him to get on board. That makes Guillaume furious, and he turns back around, deciding to stop the Squid Game before more people get hurt.
But what do you think? How would you beat Squid?
Shit, that's rough. What would you do, yo? You know what I mean? Like, would you play the Squid Games? Would you kill your homie who killed the woman that robbed you of all your money in the beginning of the whole game? Like, what would you do? I don't know what I would do, man. I don't even know what I'll do, yo. I mean, you know, I've already been in a lot of do or die situations because of my upbringing and where I grew up at, and like the schools I went to and environments and all of that whatnot. So like, if I'm put in a situation where I've got to kill, like it wouldn't be that big of a deal, honestly. I've never killed, man, but I've gotten kind of close. I've gotten close twice. And one thing I'll tell you is it's nowhere near as glorious as they try to make it seem like in the movies and the cartoons and shit. It's nowhere near that glorious, man. It don't feel good. I got into a fight with this one guy and I nearly killed him. It wasn't even Rashad, the dude who robbed my house, man. I got in this fight with this other dude. He stabbed me in the head with a knife. Where's that stab wound at? Let me see, where the hell is that stab wound at? I think it's like right here. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, I got stabbed in the head with a knife right here. It didn't go that deep, but like I nearly killed the guy because of it. We were fighting to the death over a female. Stupidest reason to fight somebody for. I was younger, so I ended up getting dude in a rear naked choke, and I have one of his arms over his head because anyone who's ever put in a good rear naked choke or knows how to do one, they know what I'm talking about. So it was like a half Nelson full naked choke, right? So I got him in that. His arm is up above his head. The one with the knife in it's up above his head, and he keeps like stabbing me in the head and shit. So I had to sink that hole in hard to get him to not stab me. Luckily enough, his range of motion of his arm, it couldn't go down because of the way the choke works. So, he keeps stabbing me in the head and whatnot, and I choke him until he blacks out. And finally, when he stopped stabbing me, I'm like, oh, okay. You finally, you done. You done? Are you done? You know what I mean? Because I wasn't really trying to kill the freaking idiot. I just wanted him to stop stabbing me. Because we fist fought before. We was fist fighting in my house over a whole female and shit. Over a disloyal asshole too. Wasn't even a good hoe. The disloyal ass, for the streets ass female, you feel me? But she was my girlfriend at the time. I didn't know, that the hoe was a hoe. I knew she was a hoe, but she was my hoe. You know what I'm saying? Y'all dudes know what I'm talking about. Females know too. So, we fist fighting and shit. Dude was like way bigger than me. He was kind of jacked and shit. Yeah, he was about damn near a foot taller than me and shit. We fighting, bruh. I don't know. I've been in a lot of fights because I used to get bullied a lot when I was a kid because I'm funny. I'm a comedian. I'm charismatic. Hood niggas don't like that shit. They don't like anything that threatens their ability to get females. So, They got mad at me because I was, even though I ain't even getting no females, bruh. I wasn't pulling no females, but, I was funny and them niggas ain't like that. So I got into a whole lot of fights. So I'm fist fighting this dude, man, and I'm working his shit. Man, this dude was bigger than me. I'm giving him the work, right? Cleaning his clock and everything. So then homie runs into my kitchen, grabs a knife. You know what I mean? Like he comes back and he comes at me with the knife. And I don't know what happened. I don't know how, but somehow I was able to get around him, get to his back and put him in the rear naked chokehold, and he started stabbing me in the head with the knife. So, you know, I like gripped the hold on him real hard, you know what I mean? Like I choked him out until his hand finally like went limp and he stopped stabbing me. So I let him go because I wasn't trying to kill the dude. I was just trying to like stop getting stabbed. So homie falls face first onto the pavement. You know what I mean? I let him go. I'm like, all right, you done? All right, we good. I let him go, falls face first onto the freaking kitchen floor and busts his face clean open. Seeing all the blood, I go over and I start trying to like wake him up. I'm like, oh my God, like, you know, like seeing him not move and blood everywhere. I'm like, oh my God, I just lost my whole fucking life. Like I remember that going through my mind. Like I thought that like, I was like, I just killed this fucking guy. I'm going to jail for the rest of my life over an ain't shit ass bitch, over a female that ain't even loyal. Oh my God. One of the few times I let my emotions get the best of me, and it almost got me put in prison for the rest of my life. So I'm shaking the dude. I'm trying to wake him up. I'm like, yo, wake up, bro. Like, please wake up. Please wake up. Like, and I'm trying to wake homie up, and like he does this. He's like, and like one of his eyes open up, and he just starts shaking and convulsing, just seizuring real bad, and throwing up blood. And I'm still thinking homie's dying. I'm scared shitless. I'm just like, bro, I'm consoling this guy. Like I'm just like, yo, I'm here. Like, please be okay. Like, I'm here. Please wake up. I'm here. Like, please, like, be okay. And I'm not even gonna lie, yo. Like, this shit's kind of emotional for me, even just thinking about it. You know what I mean? Like, this shit's low-key emotional for me. So anyway, homie finally stopped seizuring and he finally stops throwing up blood. He gets up and his eyes are as wide as fucking saucers. Now he gets up, he's like, I gotta get out of here. And he just runs for his life, runs down the stairs and just. So I go back to my room, covered in this dude's blood, with the only person to console me was the female that I had just got done fighting to the death over, that I almost just got stabbed to death for. So for 10 days, I'm in my room with this chick, and I felt like I was dying for like 14 days, bro. 2 weeks straight, I shut myself in my room with that female and like just sat there and just felt like shit. Just felt awful. In my mind, like I thought that like I'd almost just killed this dude. I'd almost just lost my entire life for this chick that wasn't even worth it. Well, I mean, at the time she was worth it. You know what I mean? She was cool. She was a cool female. She ain't had no problem that like any other female I be putting pipe on ain't got. You know, that was before I learned that all of these females is for the streets, at least most of them. There's like 5% who's not, but 95% of most females is. And I don't want you guys to think that that's a bad thing. I don't want anybody out there being like, oh my God, the hoes aren't loyal. Chris Brown was right. Nah. Like, nah. Just, you know, do you. Don't believe when no female tell you that she love you unconditionally. Oh, she would never do this. Oh no, that guy at my job, he's just my friend. No, that's just my play brother. No, yeah, I was flirting with that guy in front of you, but why are you so jealous? Like, you know what I mean? I got so many stories about this female. I'm probably gonna tell these stories because there is a ton of them. I wouldn't love to sit here and say both me and her was in the wrong in our little relationship, man, but nah, she wasn't shit. I was faithful to that female, bro. And just like any dude that you ask about being faithful to females will probably tell you, loving these hoes always ends nearly going to jail for life. And then the chick ends up like cheating on me anyway, like multiple times. But those are all stories. But yeah, so the moral of that story is it's not worth it. It really is not. Having him traverse the brink of death, yeah, in front of me, and me knowing it was by my own hands, it felt 20 times worse than heartbreak. And I've been heartbroken before. You guys have been heartbroken before. My heart felt crushed for like 2 to 3 weeks. I couldn't eat. I damn near couldn't drink. I don't even think I went to the bathroom. I just, oh my God. Oof. Depression. Oh, shit. Ooh, easily the worst depression I ever felt. No. Second worst depression I ever felt in my life. First worst depression was going through the mind games that girl kept putting me through when she was cheating on me with other dudes. That same girl, mind you. Getting into a fight over a female, no. It's not worth it. Unless it's some life or death situation for real, it really ain't worth it.
If you were being hunted by 6 terrifying monsters and each one wanted to kill you in horrible ways, what would you do? I'm going to break down the mistake.
Shit in my hand out of fear and throw it right into the monster's face. Don't you judge me. I'll do anything if I'm afraid enough. That's real, so you can't judge me for that.
Made what you should do and how to beat every monster in scary stories to tell in the dark. These kids are about to be hunted down by pure evil. It's Halloween night, and they're here to explore an abandoned house. Rumor has it that this place is haunted by the ghost of a child killer. But
rumor also has it that none of them are black. Let the record show that to be the truth. The ultimate truth of this whole situation.
When this kid Augie learns that children were murdered here, he refuses to go inside. His friend Ramon isn't scared and insists they walk inside to check it out. But
that's because he's got a female there with him. You know what I'm saying? That you always gotta lie about how brave you are in front of women. I noticed that when I've heard some of the most cowardly people tell women that they're, yo, hey, I'm with the shit. You know what I mean? I'm about that life. I'm all in there. You know what I'm saying? And then the minute it go down, they wouldn't bust a grape in the fruit fight.
But they're about to discover a dark secret that will haunt them for the rest of their lives. The others go upstairs while these two explore the kitchen, and Ramon here notices these grooves on the wall. With the girl's help, they push the shelf aside, revealing a hidden door behind it. Walking through, Stella looks through the items around them, and she begins to realize that these are the possessions of Sarah Bellows, the murderer who lived here 70 years ago. Legend goes that she lured children into the house with her scary stories, and used poison to murder anyone who came by. The legend says that now her spirit—
Bro, that hoe need to eat a sandwich or something. God, Jesus. She's like on the 4th Frieza stage of Dragon Ball Z of anorexia. If anorexia had different transformations like Zarbon or Frieza in Dragon Ball Z, then she would be on the highest stage of that, respectably. You know?
It haunts this place, and if someone comes here at night asking Sarah to tell them a story, it will be the last one they ever hear.
Shit, that bitch ashy
nothing
as
about
shit.
this is a good idea. If you ever have a friend that pressures you to break into a haunted house on Halloween night, you should tell him to go f himself.
That's real talk. Yep, damn that. And if they try to say you're scared, then offer them the fade, because if they decline, then they scared and need to go to church. Which is what I heard recently off of a T-Pain album, Epiphany, that I like to listen to a lot. That's where I got that from.
Now, even if you don't believe in ghosts or the supernatural, there's still plenty of reason to be scared out of your mind. It's a statistical fact that on the night of Halloween, children are 3 times more likely to be killed, which makes it the deadliest day of the year for anyone under the age of 17. The
Yeah.
reason has nothing to do with ghosts or goblins. But if that doesn't scare enough common sense into you to seriously reconsider your plans on October 31st, then you're putting your life in the cold-blooded hands of natural selection.
I love this guy's scene selection. The first one that he showed ghosts taking away that white dude, that was from, I wasn't gonna say Pretty Woman. That's not Pretty Woman. That's from, is that Ghost? With Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore? Yeah, but this one's from a Scary Movie. Like, great scene selection. I love it.
These kids are going to realize that visiting this haunted house was their worst mistake,
They
which
gonna
is
learn
exactly
today.
how I feel when I'm at the bank.
They
And
gonna
that's why
learn,
this
nigga.
video's sponsor, Current, is giving away $5,000 to you for signing up
word?
to their app,
5 bands.
so you don't ever have to feel that way again.
Oh.
Guys, Current, if you don't know already, is the future of banking. No hidden fees, no hidden anything, no bull. It's so easy to use.
Bullshit. Nah.
While the other kids are exploring the second floor, and Charlie here gets it.
I bet y'all $5. Y'all can't think of the song I'm listening to in my head in the comment section down below. I'll give you a clue. Womp, womp. Ba-ba-da-da-da-da-da. I farted, but I don't think the camera picked it up, so we gonna say I didn't fart.
An idea. He runs to hide in a closet so he can scare his friend Augie. But when he peeks through the doors, he's shocked to find the room has completely
Oh,
changed.
shit.
And there in the middle of the floor is a
Oh.
woman sitting on a bed.
Oh, and she got a big ass dog. And the dog is black. Bruh, it's going down for you. The only way to get yourself out of this situation, it's clear that this white woman wants sex. You just gotta make it do what it do for however long you can do. And then hope the dog don't bite you because he's jealous. Alright.
Freaking out, he closes the door but hears footsteps approaching him.
No.
Suddenly, the closet doors burst open and his friend finds him standing there terrified. Charlie walks out asking where the old lady has gone, but his friend has no idea what he's talking about.
I
Realizing the
fought him
house is haunted,
immediately.
he tells Augie they need to leave and runs downstairs to find their friends. The boys find the others inspecting.
Bruh, you walking through a haunted house with a dude dressed as the It Clown, one of the most famous child killers of all times, and y'all don't look like y'all not children too. It's not a good idea, son.
In the secret room.
Not a
And
good
that's when
idea.
Stella here takes an old book off the shelf. It belongs to none other than Sarah Bellows, the child killer. Scared out of his mind, Charlie insists they should put it back. But suddenly, the door behind them slams shut and all the candles go out. The local bully has followed them to the house and locked everyone inside. His girlfriend demands that they let the kids out because her brother is in there and goes to set them free. But as she opens the door, the bully pushes her down the stairs and closes it. Now she's trapped in with the others, and they're all going to die if they don't find a way out of here. As the kids start to
Why
panic,
would y'all bring a bully with y'all in the first place? Bruh, if you in a group of nerds and you got bullies with you, don't be there because you are usually the entertainment. I've been on both sides of that situation and both sides of them sucked. I'm not gonna lie though, being on the side with the bullies is different. It's way more fun, but both of them kinda suck.
Stella here asks the ghost to tell her a story, just like in the legend. And that's when a shadowy hand reaches out and unlocks the bolt. Walking through the door, the group is surprised to find no one on the other side, but are so glad to be free that they don't realize they've just been saved by a ghost. Okay. This is getting freaky, because nobody was around to set them free, and we can't explain how a lock like this could have opened on its own. If the kids had looked closely, they would have realized that this bolt recedes at least an inch into the door, and it's also up against a wall-mounted dish rack, making for a very tight corner. So there's virtually no way for something to fall down and push the lock 2 inches to the left to open it. This leaves no room for any natural explanation. And since we're already in a haunted house, we need to strongly consider that this is most likely the result of paranormal activity.
Hell
Now,
no.
if this sounds
You got
unscientific,
your bitch,
recent
bruh?
studies have suggested that certain locations might actually be haunted for real. According to the study, if a location already has several reports of paranormal activity and someone who isn't aware of those reports visits the haunted location, they are statistically much more likely to experience paranormal phenomena than anywhere else. This doesn't prove ghosts exist, but it's a strong correlation of circumstances, and it should be enough to make you scared shitless about visiting a haunted house in the middle of the night. In the majority of cultures across the world, a ghost is defined as the spirit of someone who has died and refuses to leave. But what's interesting here is that they must anchor themselves to the real world by binding to a person, place, or object. Now, since this book belongs to the girl who died here, there's a very high
My homie dropping knowledge out this mug, man. That's some real shit. That's why I don't trust haunted houses, because I've seen situations happen on the internet where someone will go into a haunted house and the thing will follow them. What you gonna do then? What you gonna do then, cuh?
chance that the book itself could be the anchor that's holding Cerebello's spirit. These kids will soon realize that taking this book out of the house was a huge mistake, because it's going to summon 6 terrifying monsters to hunt them down and kill them. At home, Stella here takes out the book she stole from the mansion and opens it to read the scary stories inside. But there's one that catches her eye. She wipes the page, but the words smear, and she realizes that the letters were recently written in fresh blood. The story describes a boy who hated a scarecrow, but it came to life and murdered him. Meanwhile, across town, Tommy here is doing chores on his parents' farm and passes by the scarecrow, but doesn't realize that this is the first.
Is that the bully? Oh snap, I can smell just desserts about to happen. That's what he get just for capping. That scarecrow gonna get into the back of his anus.
First monster they're going to face. He walks further into the field looking over his shoulder, but when he turns back around, the straw man is right in front of him, standing on his own 2 feet. He falls to the ground in shock and watches as it starts to come alive before his eyes. It's scary as hell, and the bully runs away, screaming for his mommy as the scarecrow chases after him. He trips on a pitchfork laying in the dirt, and seeing the monster getting closer, he decides to face it head on. Standing his ground, the kid stabs the scarecrow in the stomach, but it doesn't even flinch. The monster yanks it out of its own body and rams it straight into the kid's guts before ripping the pitchfork back out. The bully stumbles away in shock and tries to call for help, but suddenly he starts coughing up hay and straw begins to grow out of his wounds. There's nothing he can do to save himself, and he collapses to the ground as he slowly transforms into a scarecrow. That's 1 down and 5 to go.
That's a messed up way to go, man. No experience or nothing to be a scarecrow. He just a scarecrow now. They ain't even let him enroll in like an internship program to try it out for a few months first to see if he liked the job. He just a scarecrow immediately. That's racism at its best.
Okay, this death could have easily been avoided if he hadn't made one critical mistake. First of all,
Trying to fight a scarecrow monster? It's not even a real people, bruh. What you gonna stab?
Scarecrow has been possessed by something supernatural, so there's no logical reason to think that we can kill it the same way we would kill a human. This thing is made out of wood and hay, so stabbing him in the stomach with a pitchfork is an incredibly stupid thing to do here. Now, we still have to stop it, because if we just run away, he might follow us into the house and kill everyone inside. The best chance we have of surviving is to knock it over to limit its movements, and from there, it's a much weaker threat that we can overpower. Based on the physical structure of this scarecrow, there's no way it would be able to maneuver itself into a standing position, and with one simple push, Tommy could have defeated the scarecrow with his eyes closed. From there, I would drag it out of the field and set him on fire.
Set everything
the
on
scarecrow's
fire.
spine is a single column of wood, so he can't even arch his back without breaking himself in half. If Tommy here had taken a moment to consider the physical limitations of his enemy, he would still be alive. The next day, the girl shows her friends the story about the scarecrow, and she thinks it's connected to Tommy, the bully who went missing last night. Charlie here believes she might be right, and tells them all about the woman he saw in the haunted house, but their friend thinks they're getting carried away with ghost stories. Wanting to prove him wrong, Stella and Ramon go to the cornfield where the bully disappeared, and they realize that the scarecrow is now wearing the same clothes as the missing kid. The girl thinks,
and robbed his ass. That scarecrow is from the street. You work for me now. You a whole scarecrow now. But run me that jacket. That shit look nice on my head, cuh. Run that shit, bitch. And that's what you tell them. I've made people break themselves. Not a bunch of people. It's when I went to the all-white schools. When I was younger, I was in high school. And sometimes they would be disrespectful. And I wouldn't hit them. I wouldn't get violent. I'd just be like, oh, word? Let me get your lunch. And then the dude would be like, wait, no, but this is my, no. Let me get your lunch. That's my lunch now. That's what's up. I appreciate you. And your generosity will not go overlooked. And you just bought yourself an all expense paid ticket to me not digging my feet in your ass. Now, please do not get it twisted. Said ticket can be revoked at any time if you decide to, squander this blessing that I'm currently giving you. But I will need a sacrifice. And for now, it is for the low price of all of your food. Steakums, nigga. Huh? Fruit cup, nigga. Run it. Gang banging on breakfast.
That this is not a coincidence, and whatever happens in the book happens in real life. Her friend Ramon insists she's freaking out over nothing, but he has no idea that tonight they're going to encounter the second monster, and it's even more dangerous than the last. Later that day, Stella decides to take the book back to the haunted house. If these stories are coming true, then she wants no part of it and hopes to put a stop to this curse. But when she returns home that night, the girl is shocked to find her friend reading from the exact same book. Somehow, it's returned back to her room, and the boy found it laying on the desk.
What the fuck?
Confused, she opens up the pages and sees a new story appear called The Big Toe. As words begin to write themselves.
Oh, nigga, I know about the big toe. No, I mean, not like that. I do have an Only Toes account, but it's not even for feet nudes. It's the big knot. I don't mean my big toe as in pay for it, and I'll make sure it's undressed and with no clothes on it, and recently washed. Maybe $30 a picture for the feet nudes. By the way, link in the description down below. Go to my Only Toes. But yo, I know about the big toe, man. That sucks. You gotta eat feet for this one. Suck toe, and it's going down.
Into the book. She drops it in horror as they both watch her write out the story of someone who eats a stew full of human body parts.
Yep, I knew it.
That's when she
You gotta eat feet.
realizes the stories of her friend Augie
Suck
and grabs the
toe,
walkie-talkie, desperate to make sure he's still alive.
Suck the toe, bitch.
This is instantly terrifying because Augie here has no idea he's about to be killed and they can't reach him in time to warn him. Since there's no other way to intervene, I would try to use the book's own powers to our advantage to save our friend.
Yo, that shit a death note. I'd have wrote all types of stuff about me getting rich, owning like a bicycle and stuff, except it's electric. I write all types of beautiful things about myself. You know what I'm saying? That's real.
Friend. From what we've observed, it looks like these stories are written in blood, so I would draw my own blood and modify the story, saying that Augie ran away and the monster wasn't able to kill him. This might
That's a good idea.
give us a chance to use the book's power against itself and nobody will die. Now, if it doesn't work, then we'll have one less friend and that's sad. But on the bright side, we won't have to send as many Christmas cards at the end of the year. If it does work, however, then this gives us the superpower of a death note, but with pure creative freedom to make anything we could ever want. For example, we could write our own story about a monster that killed other monsters to protect us, but we also might be able to write a message to the ghost of Sarah Bellows and try to communicate with her. Since she's made it clear that we can't get rid of the book and we're stuck with it, then we need to convince her that we are willing to work with her. If Sarah doesn't consider us to be a threat, then our lives will be spared and we'll be able to enjoy the powers of the book with a lot fewer consequences. At the end of the day, it's better to be the devil's advocate than to be the devil's plaything. And I'm prepared to do just about anything if I think it has a chance of saving me and my friends' lives. Across town, Augie here is starving and opens his fridge to find a huge pot of stew waiting for him. He's about to dig into his last meal when the connection on the walkie-talkie finally comes through and he answers it. His friends warn him that his name just appeared in the book and it's writing out a death story tailor-made for him, but he thinks it's just a dumb prank. Annoyed and hungry, Augie puts down the radio and shoves a spoonful of stew into his mouth. But then
Damn it! Oh, feet! Oh, feet! Feet and mouth. Oh, he just did foot mouth. Oh, no. Oh, no. No. No, not foot mouth. No.
he feels something strange and pulls out a huge rotten toe. It's disgusting, and he
You didn't know you had feet in your spoon before you put it in your face? Come on, son. That's something you figure out beforehand or before foot. Only Toes account is in the description if you're trying to see the, because you only got a taste just now. Not like this, not in stew, but
tips the whole pot onto the floor, realizing that his friends were right. He runs upstairs to his room, but he's just made the biggest mistake of his life. On the other side of the door, a rotting woman's
Oh, and the bitch is homeless. You just ate homeless bitch's feet, bruh. Oh, you know it didn't taste even close to delicious, man.
slowly walks through the hallway, and she's missing her big toe. He tries to open the window, but it won't budge, and now he's trapped with
Nigga, you better throw a chair through that shit. Bitch, fuck this. Is it a game? Hell no.
no way to escape. Hiding under the bed,
No.
Augie can only watch in terror as his
No.
door starts to slowly creak open,
No.
but no one comes in.
No.
Thinking he's safe, he crawls out
You
to see if the
stupid.
ghost is clear, but that's when the boy is suddenly pulled back under the bed and finds the rotten woman right above him. The kid tries to save himself, but she's too strong and he disappears into the darkness. Later, Stella and Ramon arrive and run into the
Damn.
room looking for their friend, but the only thing they find are the scratches he left on the floor. That's 2
Damn.
down and 4 to go. Okay, that's the last time I'm ever eating my mom's leftovers. But this wasn't even the biggest mistake that the kid made. When Augie here realized that a monster was coming to kill him, the first thing he did was run deeper into his house and crawl under the bed. This has got to be the absolute worst place to hide, because once you're found, there's nowhere for you to run. It's a death sentence, and the better option would have obviously been to break the window to escape. Now, if he managed to escape the house and the monster still followed him outside, he'd be a lot more likely to find someone to help him kill it. There were fewer gun laws in 1968 than there are now, so there's a good chance that several of his neighbors are gun owners. If he passed enough houses screaming for help, somebody is bound to show up just waiting for an opportunity.
Now you gotta yell fire, bruh. Ain't nobody coming for, oh, he's got a gun. It was like, oh, well, why would I come in? I don't want what you getting. That's obvious. I don't...
like this to defend the streets of America. If this kid doesn't have any way to kill the monster himself, he can let the Second Amendment do it for him. It also helps that this monster is missing its big toe, so it'll be much slower than the average human. The mechanics of running requires you to use your toes for balance, and you would fall flat on your face if you tried to run without them. As long as we can run and stay ahead of it, then we'll be able to buy ourselves a lot more time to figure out a way to kill it. The next day, the group meets up and the others learn about what happened to their friend Augie. He's disappeared without a trace, and the same will happen to each of them when their own story is written. But the friends have an idea. Placing the book in a metal barrel, they light it on fire to destroy it for good. But when they dump out the ashes, they discover that the book is completely unburnt. There's nothing they can do to get rid of it. And Stella here
I love how the female's like, oh, no, I got it, bruh. Jump it. Jump it. Hey, I'm about to jump. Cut. Come on, cut. Just start stomping it
the
out.
book is completely unburnt. There's nothing they can do to get rid of it.
fuck it
and
up.
Stella here
World
realizes
star
that
his
they need
ass.
to research the owner of the book, Sarah Bellows, before someone else dies. They go to the local newspaper outlet, and Charlie here finds an old paper saying that Sarah died at a mental hospital, and after her death, the surviving family members began to mysteriously disappear. Stella here checks the book, and realizes that each member of the Bellows family has their own deadly story. As the girl flips through the pages, the title of a new story appears called The Red Spot, and Charlie's big sister is next to die. That night, this girl Ruth is trying to pop a massive zit on her cheek, but behind her, a ghostly shadow starts to stretch across the bathroom ceiling. That's when she sees something move under the skin, and suddenly hundreds of spiders come bursting out of her face. The girl starts to freak out, and when the friends finally reach her, they find her screaming on the floor in terror with spiders crawling everywhere. This kid douses her with a bucket of water, and they manage to save the sister's life. But that's now 2 down, 1 saved, and
God, geez, they really get, yep. Yeah, you gotta say the pretty female, man. If that chick was the ugly one, I'm not gonna risk no spiders. I'm not gonna risk getting crawled on by no small spider to save no 4. That's just how the world works. That's nature, baby. Natural selection, bitch. You better get surgery, bitch. Don't be out here looking like the unattractive female in Scooby-Doo and expect for dudes to risk life, liberty, and possibly getting crawled on by a harmless small spider just to save your unsavory looking ass.
there are 3 more friends to go. Okay, this was a close call, but the big takeaway here is that now we know we can intervene in these death stories. Since we can read the story being written before it happens, then as long as we stay in the
I hope you got the butt cheeks for that.
group, we will have several minutes in advance to plan for whatever monster is coming next. If you don't stay in the group, then you won't know how you'll die, and nobody will be able to help you fight it off or run away, so splitting up at any point before your story is written is going to be a huge risk. Now, this isn't the only help that we can get to guarantee our safety. Taking the book to the police is definitely the right move here.
Dude, tell me why I was like, oh shit, nigga, they got Morgan Freeman in this.
I think you are a prime suspect in 2 separate murder cases, because there's literally a record of the murders in this book written in blood. But that's actually not a bad thing. First of all, there's an easy way to prove that this book is supernatural, because if they wait long enough and you make them watch, eventually it will go after a new victim and they'll be able to see the book writing in itself. We can also easily demonstrate to them that nothing can destroy this book, which breaks the laws of physics, and they'll have no choice but to listen to us. Now, if they decide to ignore the proof we give them, then that's okay too. Because if we are the prime suspect in their investigation, then we'll have police surveillance watching our every move. And when a monster shows up to kill us, they might be able to save our lives. At the very least, we can lure the new monsters straight into the police, and we'll get to watch our tax dollars at work. The next day, the friends visit the hospital to find records on Sarah Bellows when she was a patient here. They sneak into a restricted area and look for the red room where the older files are kept, but Charlie here doesn't want to go and is terrified that he might be next. The girl tells him to wait while they go looking, but he decides to take the elevator to get out while he still can and leaves the others behind. Meanwhile,
This nigga's stupid, bruh. Don't you know the rules of scary stuff going down? Never split up. That way, best case scenario, you're with your friends when the monster shows up and one of them get eaten instead, or even better, all y'all die together. Because the last thing you want when it's going down is to die by yourself without taking a loved one with you. Geico, are you in good hands? I had nothing, man. I'm just making it do what it do, man.
his friends find the records room and discover the medical files of Sarah Bellows. Reading it, they learn she was admitted by her family, and the doctor supervising her case was her own brother, who tortured her through horrible medical treatments.
Damn.
The girl pulls out a wax cylinder from a can, and Ramon here recognizes that it's an audio recording. Listening to it, they hear
I thought he tortured her by shoving it up her anus. I was like, oh.
the doctor interrogating Sarah, demanding she confess to poisoning the children. The woman insists that mercury from the family's paper mill spilled into the water supply, and Ramon here realizes her own family was framing her for crimes she didn't commit. That's when she suddenly starts telling a story about their friend Charlie, and terrified, they realize that he's next to die if they don't save him. Upstairs, Charlie is completely lost, and tries to find an exit when all of a sudden an alarm goes off as the hospital's lights turn red. Reaching an intersection, he sees a fat pill figure walking towards him at the end of the hallway and runs in the opposite direction, but the same figure is at the other end too. Everywhere he goes, there's no escape, as the monster appears at the end of every corridor and slowly gets closer. Finally, they surround him on all sides, and the pale lady embraces the boy, absorbing him into her body. It's horrifying, and there's nothing he can do to escape. By the time his friends arrive, he's vanished, and the only thing left is his pen. That's 3 down, 1 saved, and 2 to go.
Damn!
Okay, this monster is scary as hell. She's like that great aunt that you only see on family reunions, and you can't do anything to avoid her suffocating hugs. Now, if we don't panic, we can survive this pretty easily if we use our time wisely to observe our surroundings and find things to use to our advantage. First of all, there are a lot of rooms in this hallway, and it's worth looking to find if any of them have a window to break and escape out of. If it's looking like none of the rooms have windows, then the next best thing is to get through the monster by going above her through this ventilation shaft. It probably wouldn't be too difficult to find tables and chairs in some of these rooms, so I would try to gather as many as I could find into the middle of the hallway intersection. Then I would line them up so that I'm on a platform above them. The tables will stop them from being able to reach me, and it buys me time to try and loosen the grate of this ventilator shaft to crawl in and make my way out of the building. Now, if we can't manage to open the ventilation, we're already at least 2.5 feet above them and could easily jump over the monster in any direction we wanted. As long as we continue to cordon off the threat, we can search for an exit without getting hugged to death by Great Aunt Berta. That night, Stella and Ramon are taken to the police station after being caught in the hospital. The sheriff asks them what they know about the missing children, and they tell him about the book and its powers, but he doesn't believe them. The man will let them go without some proper answers, so they stay the night in jail. This is the worst possible place they could be, because another monster is coming, and there's nowhere for them to run. Later, the sheriff sees a new story has appeared in the book, and asks the kids about it, but they're interrupted as all the lights in the station go out. His dog begins growling at a noise in the other room, so the sheriff goes to investigate. But something suddenly falls out of the chimney, and the cop realizes it's a severed head. The head starts to move, and the sheriff immediately shoots at it until he's all out of ammo, but more severed body parts start falling from the chimney, assembling themselves into a disgusting rotten corpse. The monster snaps the sheriff's neck and throws his body into the jail bars before crawling through the holding room to find the kids. He tries pushing himself through the bars of Ramon's cell, but the girl grabs the keys from the sheriff's belt and runs over to help set both of them free before the monster can get inside. They leave the station and find a squad car to escape with, but that's when the boy tells Stella to go to the haunted house without him. He suggests that she talks to the ghost so she can finally end this curse while he draws off the monster, and she agrees to the plan. Splitting up from his friend, the boy drives off in the squad car as the creature chases after him. Suddenly, the monster lands on the hood of the vehicle and tries to break into the car.
That shit crawling forwards and backwards at the same time.
Ramon here rams the creature into a
He's
semi-truck
got
and
it
traps it
all.
between the hood before running away to the haunted house. But he's still in danger. Breaking apart, the monster escapes the vehicles and reassembles itself to continue hunting the boy down. Okay, this is easily the deadliest monster so far, but it's not just because they were locked in jail with nowhere to go. First of all, these kids could have done a much better job of convincing the cop that this book is supernatural. All they would have needed to do was try destroying the book in front of him, and the cop would have seen that it was impossible. This is enough proof that something strange is going on, but he didn't realize this until it was too late. This cop emptied his gun straight into the monster's head, and it didn't even flinch. That means this creature can't be killed through brute force, and we need to outthink it in order to survive. He's also the first monster that runs faster than a human, so even if we manage to break out of jail, we still can't outrun it, and that seriously limits our options. We're going to need to beat this monster right here in the police station if we want any chance to survive, so we need to first consider its physical limitations and try using them against it. Now, this monster's greatest strength is also its greatest weakness. This creature can detach its body parts, which is really badass. But if that's how it was put together, then it's probably going to be a lot more vulnerable around those connecting points. This gives us a way to limit its ability to harm or chase us down. If it were me, instead of trying to escape, I would wait until he's trapped between the bars and have Stella try to steal one of its limbs while I try to tear off its head from its body. If we manage to separate its limbs and head and then run away with them, then it won't be able to run and chase us, and his corpse won't be able to see where it's going. Then, we can take the stolen body parts out to the middle of the nearest lake, tie them to a brick, and watch them sink to the bottom. The monster will be so preoccupied with finding and retrieving his missing body parts that we'll have plenty of time to escape and solve the mystery of the storybook before he ever finds us again. Reaching the haunted house, Stella here begs Sarah Bella's ghost to stop killing her friends, explaining that they now know she was framed and never committed any crimes. That's when she hears footsteps walking upstairs, and all of a sudden she finds herself transported to the past years before the house was ever abandoned.
No.
Moments later, Ramon here arrives at the mansion searching for his friend, when he finds the girl's book at the bottom of the stairs, and sees a new story being written for Stella. Suddenly, he hears noises outside and realizes the monster has caught up to him. He runs upstairs and finds a room to hide in, shutting the door behind him as the monster chases him up the stairwell.
Oh,
in
God.
the past, Stella hears a man calling out for Sarah Bellows. Afraid, she runs upstairs and shuts herself inside of a room to hide. But that's when the girl catches her reflection in the mirror. She walks up to take a closer look and realizes that she looks exactly like Sarah, the owner of the storybook. Freaking out, she runs out the door and through the hallway until she finds the dining room. With nowhere left to go, she hides under the table hoping no one will find her, but that's when everything goes wrong. She stays as quiet as she can, but the Bellows family finds her and drags her out of hiding. They carry her through the house and back into the secret room where Sarah, the owner of the storybook, was kept prisoner. Meanwhile, in the present, Ramon here looks around for an exit and falls all the way to the ground level, spraining his ankle in the process. Suddenly, a voice screams out from the secret room, and he limps over to rescue his friend. But that's when he sees something above him and finds the monster hanging from the ceiling. The creature corners him against the floor and is about to finish him off, but Stella is about to save everyone's life. That's when the girl senses something is in the room and finally sees the ghost of Sarah Bellows sitting in the chair across from her. This time, Stella isn't afraid and tells the ghost that if she kills her and her friends, then she's no better than how her own family treated her. Stella promises to tell the truth about Sarah to the world, and the spirit offers a pen to write the truth into the book. Stella writes the ghost's true story with her own blood, and the ghost suddenly lets out a terrifying scream. Sarah Bellows has finally let go of her anger and lifts the curse. Suddenly, the monster releases Ramon and falls to pieces on the floor. He limps towards the secret room and opens the door to find Stella and the last two survivors embrace each other in relief, thankful to still be alive.
But what do you think? How would you beat scary stories to tell an adult?
I think that dude is a great narrator and editor. All of this was well done. I loved every single second of it. But yo, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to comment, like, and or subscribe. Twizzlers.